The following is a special production of the Lorain County Sports Network on WOBL and WDLW. On Facebook, on YouTube, on air, online, and on the app. Your home for Lorain County football, the Lorain County Sports Network. Week 6 of the high school football season is here. Conferences are shaping up, playoff points are starting to add up. Some interesting games last week and some good matchups this week are on the way. This is the Lorain County Sports Network on WOBL, WDLW, YouTube, and on Facebook. Welcome to the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's in Elyria. Let's look at the action tonight in Lorain County. Starting off in the conferences that are a little more outside the county, we'll begin with the Greater Cleveland Conference. Lorain is sitting in the bottom three, along with Shaker Heights and the team they'll play tonight, Brunswick. The Blue Devils are 2-3 with wins over Shaker and the team that Lorain beat, Elyria. Brunswick is likely favored in this one, but it should be close. In the Sandusky Bay Conference, the 4-1 Vermilion Sailors bounced back nicely last week after their first loss of the year. This week, it's Vermilion heading to SBC interdivisional foe Norwalk to take on the Truckers. Traditionally, Norwalk has been a powerhouse, but they've fallen on some hard times. They're 1-4, and their one win was an overtime affair in week 1. The Sailors should add to their win total heading into conference action next week. Elyria Catholic have yet to win a game this season and have thus far scored a total of exactly 6 points. I'm not going to suggest it would be easy, but the Panthers should earn win number 2 this season by multiple scores. We have this one for you on the network with Bull Barge and Max Drummond on the call. Go to YouTube and search Lorain County Sports Network. In the Southwestern Conference, the Elyria Pioneers are still looking for win number 1. The problem is that they'll be in Avon Lake looking for it. The Shoremen bumped up to 2-3 overall, but 2-0 in the conference last week and are a multiple score favorite tonight. 3-2, 1-1, Olmsted Falls heads to Amherst to battle the Comets. Steele is a deceptive 2-3, 0-2. I think they're better than that. The Bulldogs have held their own against some good competition, Mentor, Brunswick, and Strongsville. This will be another good measuring stick kind of game for the Comets. 4-1, 2-0 Avon is on the road this week to take on the Titans. Berea Mid-Park matches Avon's record with just 1 loss, but I think that's where the comparison ends. Interestingly enough, as it sits right now, 2 teams are ahead of Avon on points in Region 6. Highland is number 1, but their schedule doesn't help them. Wadsworth is number 2, but has a couple big games with Hudson and Nordonia coming up. Yeah, I know, it's early to be looking at this stuff. I just can't help it. The last game in the SWC is also one that we'll cover on the network. In fact, I'll be in Grafton along with Dave Granzinski for the game between 4-1, 1-1 North Ridgeville and the Midview Middies, who are 3-2, 0-2. Middies' 2 losses clearly have been in the conference. The Rangers' single loss was to SWC favorite Avon. Hoping that this one stays close for a while, listen in on the Cool Cat, 98.9 FM, 1380 AM, and WDLWradio.com. We are all over the LC8 this week. Of the 4 games being played, we're at 3 of them. We were at Brookside last week. The Cards stay at home to host Columbia. The undefeated Raiders are rolling right now. This is likely another tough week for the Cards. Lorain County Friday Night Lights on Facebook will check out the 2-3 Firelands Falcons when they journey to Clearview to take on the 1-4 Clippers. I think this one's close. Check out Richard Flower's reports from Clearview, as well as the scores and stories that are posted on Lorain County Friday Night Lights. On YouTube and the Lorain County Sports Network stream with Dave Rivera and Jared Viancourt, the Keystone Wildcats stand at 3-2 and 2-0 when they host 2-3, 1-1 Black River Pirates. This should be a close one, maybe a single score difference kind of game. Join the stream on YouTube by searching Lorain County Sports Network. The last game in the county is on WOBL, 107.7 FM, 1320 AM, and on WOBLradio.com. The 2-3 Wellington Dukes head to Oberlin College to take on the 2-3 Oberlin Phoenix. Both are looking for their first conference win. Gary Tollett and Brian DeVito will be on the call. I don't often mention this in the pregame, but I need to right now. A big shout out to the guys at the studio holding everything down, as well as the guys on the streams that handle the tech. On the boards in the studio, David Q and Johnny G. John Guzik and Paul Williams handle the updates as well as halftime and the best post-game show in the area. Ed Vereen and Sam Sovacool will be in Elyria with one stream tonight. Duke Ansack and Brent Parsons will be in LaGrange with the other. Thank you, guys. One more time. Here's the broadcast schedule for tonight. Lorain County Friday Night Lights will be at Clearview for the Firelands game on Facebook. The Cool Cat is in Grafton for the Middies and the Rangers. Our video streams on YouTube will be at EC for the St. V. St. M game and Keystone hosting Black River. Lorain County Country, WOBL, is at Oberlin College for the Wellington-Oberlin game. The Buckeye Bank Coaches Corner is up next with interviews from both coaches from the game you're checking out. The Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show will be back in just a minute.
Welcome out to a sun-soaked Dan Reeser Stadium here at Elyria Catholic High School. Here for week 6 in the high school football season, where tonight the Panthers look to extend their winning streak to 3 games as they play host to the St. Vincent-St. Mary Fighting Irish, who come in looking for their first win of the season. Greetings, salutations, and welcome in to tonight's broadcast on the Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Lorain County's 4 horsemen riding into the second half of the season. Andy Bolbarch, joined alongside my tag team partner Max Drummond, El Capitan. The captain of our ship and the director for today is Edwin Vereen, and we've got Sam Sovacool working the camera tonight as well. Coming your way from the Green Path CPA Solutions broadcast booth, not your typical accounting firm. Visit greenpathcpa.com for more information. That's greenpathcpa.com. Lots to get to over the next half hour or so on our Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria. The Panthers come in 2-3 overall, and the visiting Fighting Irish enter at 0-5. Max, great to be joined by you as always. Oh, what a difference a couple of weeks can make. 2 weeks back, we were here for Elyria Catholic's first win of the season. It was a bit of a surprise as they shut out the Vermilion Sailors and gave them a taste of their own medicine. And then last week they had to come from behind and overcome some obstacles on the road in their win against a team that took care of them here last week in the Padua Bruins, and they look for 3 in a row here tonight.
Yeah, excited to be back out here for the Panthers. Obviously, you guys making your second visit, my first, and you got to see the style almost change of this Elyria Catholic team into what has really propelled them to a couple wins in a row here. So excited to see if they keep that going tonight.
Let's get a look at our weather and field conditions, brought to you by Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando, a proud supporter of high school athletics. Well, there's nothing not to like about what's going on here today. Lots of sunshine. The first Friday of the fall here. Couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, you mentioned sun-soaked, and maybe the close in on the Panther isn't doing it justice, but lots of sunshine. That'll keep going till around 7:30 or so as we're hanging out in the low 70s right now. So should be a perfect night transitioning from summer to fall.
Taking a look now at the injury update, brought to you by Elyria Jewelry and Repair, treating customers like family. That's Elyria Jewelry and Repair. Well, a couple of big injuries coming into this one for Elyria Catholic. For the 3rd straight week now, they're going to be without Donovan Schumpert, a key cog on both sides of the ball. 2 weeks ago, they lost their starting quarterback in Robbie DeRay, and they've been able to make the most of that, too, because now they've got 2 guys taking snaps at quarterback.
Yeah, it makes a lot to prepare for the other side of the ball. And even though the past 2 weeks, teams have probably known what they want to do and the strong suit is going to be, they haven't been able to slow it down. So that's also that attitude shift and a good fighting personality on that offensive line and the defensive line for that matter.
In just a little bit here on the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show, we'll get you an update on the captains, the coin toss, and much more. Want to mention tonight's officials brought to you by Stringer, and Gazer, providing personal injury, family law, and workers' compensation cases. That's Stringer, and Gazer. Umpires for, or should say the referees for tonight, head referee is Joseph Fribelli. The umpire is Mike Walsh. Line judge is Matthew Granito. Back judge is David Calderwood, and the linesman is Gary Gialanella. So those are the referees for tonight. Again, the officials are brought to you by Stringer, and Gazer. Coming up here in just a few moments, we've got the Coach's Corner brought to you by Buckeye Community Bank. We'll catch up with both head coaches and get their thoughts on tonight's contest. And then after all of that, we'll bring it back here before the opening kickoff for our keys to the game, national anthem, starting lineups, and much, much more live from Dan Reeser Stadium at Elyria Catholic for Week 6 between the Elyria Catholic Panthers and the Fighting Irish of St. Vincent-St. Mary, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County. Welcome into the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. Time to catch up with our head coaches, and we'll begin with St. Vincent-St. Mary head coach Lorain Grant. Coach Grant, we appreciate you giving us a few moments of your time here. Well, let's talk about the first half of the season and the growth that you've seen from your kids going from Week 1 to Week 5. What are some of the biggest areas of improvement that you've seen?
The biggest areas is just their hustle, their care. They're trying to figure out how to win games. They're trying to figure out how to be solid Friday night guys, because we got a very, very young crop of kids playing. Majority of our varsity roster are sophomores, and they play both sides of the ball majority of the game. I just like their fight, and I appreciate their fight every week.
Let's talk about some of the kids in particular. You know, for those of us in Lorain County who don't get a chance to see you guys play very often, what can you tell us about your sophomore quarterback, Will Adamson, and some of the steps that he's made so far this season?
Will, he's grown a lot. He's grown a ton. Last year, he actually played a couple snaps, played some snaps for us on varsity, where he kind of had to step in and, did a decent job for us. This year, he's been having a tough year. Again, us being young, he's making pretty good throws, but, we can't really bring him in, so you might not see it a lot on the stat sheet and in the papers, but, he's working. He's working to try to develop, and he's becoming that Friday night guy that we're looking to have, and, it's exciting to watch, and it's exciting to watch his teammates around him.
Earlier you had talked about how you have a lot of underclassmen getting a great deal of playing time, but one of your seniors is a guy in Charles Brown who's been a very, very big player for you guys on both sides of the line. What are some things that stand out when you talk about Charles Brown?
His care for the game, and his care and his want to, I'll say. His want to in the heat of the game, he's there. He's a solid varsity guy. So, when you see him playing, again, with the young team, and you see a guy like that going hard during the game, it just brings you back to reality a little bit. Like, okay, you got a little bit of senior leadership. You got a guy out here that can get it done for you, and it's good to see him. It's good to see the kids feed off of him.
Offensively, Coach, what kind of identity do you hope that your team has established through the first 5 games of the season?
Just trying to gain toughness and be tough. You know what I mean? The toughness
key is my first thing for the guys. I want them to be tough. I want them to understand what it takes to win football games, and toughness is the main component for me, and that's what they're working to do. They're trying to find it, and I think they're doing a good job.
Do you see a lot of those same elements at play when you talk about what's going on defensively for you guys? Is that the same kind of thing you hope to identify yourselves as defensively?
Oh, yes, definitely. Toughness and, just that ability to go play after play after play, which comes with experience and understanding the Friday night level.
Coach, who are some of the younger guys who have really gone above and beyond and really grown their game over the first half of the season for you guys?
I'll say Rylan Hurley. He's not really a young guy. He's a senior captain for me. But especially with last week's performance versus Vincent-St. it was really, really inspiring, where I think he literally woke up a lot of his teammates to the point where they can see and understand that they can do more. He had a few runs last week versus Vincent-St. that really, really stood out to everybody there. And he broke some tackles. He just the fight, the visual of seeing him genuinely fight for every yard and not be brought down to the ground was very inspiring. And I'm so glad he did it. That's what I'm looking for out of St. Vincent-St. Mary's football players.
Well, of course, tonight you're taking on a familiar foe in Elyria Catholic, a team that's hot after a couple of big wins. Coach, what are some things that Elyria Catholic does well that you see both on paper and on film that concerns you a bit going into tonight's game?
Well, I'll say the thing that jumps off on tape for them that really more so than any other team I've seen, we had a pretty good schedule, is their toughness and their physicality. They're very tough. They play hard. I reiterated that to my team all week and showed them film like these guys play hard. They're coached to play hard. It's a lot of those values and quotes and things that I would use that I use as a coach when I was there. You can still see a lot of it on film, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where I was the defensive coordinator. So, just letting my guys know, like, hey, these guys are going to come get you. They're tough. They've been going at it. Some of those guys been in that defense and under Ferris for a few years now. They're going to try to come get you. They're a lot older than when I was there. So I know a lot of those players on that roster. Good relationships with all of them.
Great stuff. Well, Coach Grant, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck against Elyria Catholic tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Coach. St. Vincent-St. Mary head coach Lorain Grant joining us here on the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. We'll step aside and take a quick timeout and come back with more right after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. Second half of our Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner, getting ready for kickoff tonight between St. Vincent-St. Mary and Elyria Catholic, and we're catching up with Elyria Catholic head coach Chase Ferris. Coach, we appreciate the time as always. A couple of really good weeks for you guys, both resilience and really good defense as well. Coach, let's dive in to some of the things that the kids have had to overcome on the field and what it reveals about the character of this team, especially last week against Padua, with a punt block you guys had to overcome early on, a couple of real nice defensive stands at the end of the game. What kind of character do you think was revealed about the kids in that win over Padua last week?
Oh, 100%. These guys, they go out there and play for each other. I think that's the biggest thing. When adversity strikes, they don't put their head down. They band closer together and go out there and get the job done. So I think that's what really was revealed, these past couple of weeks, especially on the defensive and offensive fronts.
Let's talk about how things are going defensively. 2 weeks ago, you guys came in against a 3-0 Vermilion team, and you shut that running game down. You also shut them out throughout the entire contest, came up with some really big turnovers, and then took on Padua last week and held them to just 7 points defensively. The other touchdown they scored was on that punt block return for the touchdown. Coach, who or what has paced you guys defensively?
I think for us, it all starts up front. With Trent Merrill, Kylan Connors, Weston Williams, and Amari Land. Those four guys up front, have taken a different attitude, to trying to stop the run. And from there, the energy becomes infectious. It relates to the linebackers and into that back end. When it comes to the back seven, these guys are communicating better. They're understanding their assignments. They're understanding the techniques and they're recognizing formations and plays. So, right now, I think it's just an all-around effort. And like I said, that's big kudos to our D coordinator, Dan Merrill, for getting these guys, to rally together, band together, and go out there and just continue to play lights out these past couple of weeks.
You guys have a bit of a different look offensively, having to play without some of your playmakers and Donovan Shumpert and Robbie DeRay. So at quarterback, you guys have really had to mix and match with Ben Essenmacher and Jazir Terry. Coach, how would you assess the performance of both of those guys taking the snaps last week?
Man, those guys just went out there. To have 2 days, 2 to 3 days to prepare and, start quarterback is crazy. But then, hopping in there after not taking any snaps at quarterback for maybe, 2-3 weeks, it just shows, his attention to detail, and understanding the concept of what we've been doing. And then to be able to throw Jazir back there, it's just, for us, going out there and doing what we can to continue to put our kids in the best position to be successful. And each of those guys, they have their expertise, and they, at the same time have things that we got to continue to work on. Like I said, we don't ask them to be Superman at all. We just ask them to go out there, give us their best effort, and do their job.
It really seems as though your running game has excelled these last 2 weeks with the 2 big wins. Also, what has allowed that running game to really kind of take that next level?
I think it's just the attitude up front. These guys, that offensive line is starting to really mesh together. They're communicating before the plays. They understand what's going on. They know different fronts, whether it's a 3 front or a 4 front, who's working together to get weird. And I think it's starting to show. The attitude. The plays on film looks different. We're getting our hands inside, we're running our feet. We're finishing plays.
Of course, you're taking out St. Vincent-St. Mary tonight. The team's still looking for their first win of the season. In what ways do you think they will test you this evening?
Being best friends with the head coach, and I kind of know how he thinks a little bit, and just trying to be prepared in all facets. Whether it's offense, defense, special teams. We never know. Whether it's a new blitz or a special play. Just trying to make sure we're prepared. And disciplined in our technique and alignment and assignment to go out there and compete. Like I said, they have players just like we do. But at the end of the day, players have to make plays, coaches have to make calls. And it takes us all together, to try to pull out a victory this weekend.
Well, Coach Ferris, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck against the Irish tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you, Coach. Again, that's Elyria Catholic head coach Chase Ferris joining us on the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. We'll step aside and take a quick timeout and then come back with some more right after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. An outstanding rendition of our Star-Spangled Banner by the Elyria Catholic Marching Band. National anthem brought to you by the United States Air Force. Interested in becoming a recruit? Report to the U.S. Air Force Office in Avon. Putting the finishing touches on our pregame show, brought to you by Stewart's TV and Appliance. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria. Andy Bolbart, Jim Axterman on the call for you on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Just a couple minutes away from our opening kickoff. Let's take a look at the keys to tonight's game, Max.
Well, we'll start with the hosting Elyria Catholic Panthers here on their homecoming game, as I think it's pretty simple for them. Get that ground game going. You guys got to see it up close and personal a couple weeks ago. It's clearly there, and this is a St. V team that's dealing with some shuffling in their lineup, so you attack them early, maybe just catch them off guard and run with that the rest of the game. As for St. V, normally in a game like this where you're down a few guys, you've got a young quarterback, a lot of young guys in general, you try to make the game ugly, limit possessions. Unfortunately, that plays right into the hands of Elyria Catholic, so you're going to have to count on maybe one of those unknowns, one of these guys that are new to Friday nights or relatively new, to go make a play, put everybody on notice, and whether it's something on defense like an interception, taking it back to the house, or trying to find a play on offense with a trick play, just something like that to shock these Panthers and to keep a foothold in this game.
Keys to the game presented by the Williams Brothers Builders, performing site work, concrete, and carpentry with their own forces. That's Williams Brothers Builders. Before we get going, let's take a look at the starting lineups. They have the coin toss a little bit earlier with the captains at the 50-yard line. Captains brought to you by North Coast Insurance Group. See Robert H. Garcia, your local Allstate agent in Avon. And when they had that coin toss, Elyria Catholic won it. They elect to receive to begin the game. Well, let's take a look here at the starting lineups. Starting lineups are brought to you by Gehrig's Inn Tavern. Post-game meals just taste better with Gehrig's Tavern in Grafton. We'll take a look at how Elyria Catholic will be lined up offensively. Ben Essenmacher and Jazir Terry both expected to see some time at quarterback. Zion Castillo, the tailback. Connor Latte, wide receiver, along with Corey Armelin, Jules Martin, and Aiden Colmeyer will also see some time at receiver as well. Up front, left tackle Amari Lind, left guard Kanan Regis, the center Ryan Flanagan, Omari Ortiz, the right guard, the right tackle is Dylan Bevere. Let's take a look at that St. Vincent-St. Mary defense.
Starting up front with the Irish, we've got Ryan Pytash, a freshman there on the defensive end. Also Johnny Meltel, 5'9", sophomore. And then a little bit more experience on that other side of the defensive line. Charles Brown, a senior, as well as Ray Hilton, a senior as well. Then moving up to the linebackers, Ryan Hurley, a 5'10", 185 senior who leads the team in tackles. Duke Clayton, also in the middle with him. There's fellow senior Caden Rogers on the outside, as well as Andrew Lothar. And then moving up to that secondary, Giovanni Vinson, Travion Jones, and Brandon Nicholson all round out that secondary.
We mentioned Elyria Catholic won the toss. They will receive coin toss, brought to you by the Lorain County Visitors Bureau, celebrating 200 years together. That's the Lorain County Visitors Bureau. Ball will be teed up here momentarily for our opening kickoff. That's brought to you by Lorain County Community College. Kick off your future with LCCC. EC won this game a year ago, 28-22. Fighting Irish come in at 0-5, Elyria Catholic in 2-3. And Max, at least on paper, you know, when you take a look at the schedule both of these teams face over the next 4 games, there are some really tough opponents for both teams over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's been sandwiched between a couple of tough games as well. Obviously, we heard Coach in the interview there for St. V. Durant Grant talk about having to play St. Joe's and some of the toughness you have to develop in a game like that. So that can be maybe a good preset to get you ready for this kind of Elyria Catholic team that prides himself on physicality and toughness.
Caden Rogers will have it teed up at the 40-yard line for the Fighting Irish. Mikey Bates, Jules Martin, both back deep, standing around their own 10-yard line to receive this opening kickoff. Rogers looks both ways. He'll run forward, get his right foot into it, high kick, end over end, and Martin will come up to about the 16-yard line to retrieve it. Martin taking it to the near side, has a seam, works his way through it, past the 50-yard line. He's got nothing but green in front. Down the sideline he goes. Martin's going to go all the way. Touchdown, Panthers. There's some laundry on the field at the 40-yard line, but for now, it's an 84-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. But it looks like this is indeed coming back. It'll be a hold against the Panthers.
And it was right at the point of attack there, so the officials are obviously going to be inclined to throw that if there's even a question right along the left hash where that flag lands. But, man, that aside, that speed from Martin, that's why I see in the varsity field as just a sophomore, and we're going to see him a lot on offense tonight.
Some electricity early on, even though it was negated by that flag. And penalties certainly hurt EC a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but they were able to overcome that in a game where they were incredibly physical and thoroughly dominated. So EC will take over after the penalty at their own 30-yard line. Again, with the injury to Robbie DeRay, they have made some moves in the backfield, and now it'll be Ben Essenmacher taking the snaps, at least for now. He's back in the shotgun. He's got two backs with him. They'll give to Zion Castillo, but he's ripped down at the 29-yard line. He had nowhere to go when he was taken to the turf by Arthur Coleman.
And a good job right there as he took on his teammate took on the pulling guard that time, and he was able to take advantage of what was a slow down play. And Pytash setting the edge there. Great job.
Same personnel stays on the field. They give to Castillo again, and Castillo has nowhere to go. Maybe got to the 30-yard line for a pickup of one, but now it's third down and long for the Panthers.
And we had a chance, obviously, to see a couple of games on film, but just in warm-ups, St. Vincent-St. running that 4-4-3, it might be the perfect combatant to what Elyria Catholic likes to do. Even though they spread things out a little bit, they're still a power run team at the end of the day, and so far it's advantage to St. V right now, loading the box.
Castillo, the only tailback in the formation here with four receivers at the disposal of Essenmacher. Essenmacher back to pass, fires left side, the pass falls incomplete. Hit as he threw that one. A bit of a wounded duck as it was moving toward the numbers on the near side. And fortunately for EC, Max, that one fell to the turf because for a while it looked like that was a jump ball that anybody could have had.
Yeah, and at first I thought it was deflected, but the fact that he was hit as he let it go definitely impacted the travel of the ball. And Giovanni Vincent was very close, like you mentioned, to picking that off. So the way it fluttered out of his hand may have actually helped the Panthers out, surprisingly.
Rylan Hurley inside his own 40-yard line. Snap will go back to Connor Latte. He gets a pretty good-looking punt away. Hurley has to drop back to his 33-yard line to retrieve it. Hurley weaves his way in and out of traffic, broke one tackle, then he was taken down near the 45-yard line. Luis Angel Hernandez was there to tackle him after he picked up about 12 yards on that punt return.
Yeah, you go from right away thinking you might have surrendered a kick for a touchdown to open the game, and now you're getting the ball instead, limiting the Panthers to no points and really good field position. And that's something this offense could really use a help with all the young guys out there.
Yeah, and look, they have got a ton of underclassmen that see significant snaps. Coach Grant talked about that during the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Show. It's Will Adamson, sophomore quarterback, sends a man in motion. They'll flip it to him. He gives it to Giovanni Vincent. Vincent turns the corner left side. He's shoved out of bounds, but there is a flag back around the 40-yard line. And that's in the backfield of the Fighting Irish where you normally see a hold. And our head referee, Joseph Ribelli, confirms our suspicion that's a hold, and that's going to cost them 10.
And Trent Merrill, he's a leader up front, and he continues to do so. We've called his name pretty often over the years, and for good reason right there, blowing up that play, drawing the penalty.
Well, and, you know, they've been trying to establish an identity offensively. It's been tough to do that. They haven't scored a ton of points this season, and that's not unheard of when you have a roster as young as theirs. Trying to build something with Coach Grant. Again, 0-5 this year. They went 1-9 a season ago.
And just trying to be creative, shake things up like that, like we just saw there. Probably going to see a good bit of that tonight.
Adamson, 6'2", 180-pound quarterback. He'll take the snap. I should say it's Hurley who takes the snap. He'll run it himself, and he's able to work his way up to about the 39. So Rylan Hurley, bit of a Swiss Army knife. He returns punts. He's a linebacker. They run him as a quarterback out of the Wildcat. He also lines up as a running back and a receiver.
Well, and he's one of the few guys that are at the skill positions that has some experience being a senior. So you need to lean on that, any varsity experience you can, even if he's technically out of position.
Second down and very long coming up. They need 16 yards for a first down. Pass goes left side from Hurley, cut along the far sideline by Giovanni Vincent. He steps out of bounds close to the 46. They get positive yards, but they're still a long ways away here on third down.
And now with this 3rd and long to go, wonder if we'll still see Hurley out there and how much they trust him to stretch the ball down the field here.
Hurley, 5'10", 185-pound senior. He was singled out by Coach Grant in our interview earlier this week, talking about how he had some tough running last week in the loss against St. Joe's. He'll grab the snap and he'll drop back. Pressure coming immediately. Merrill knocks him down to the backfield. Trent Merrill with another big one. That's his 5th sack of the season. They'll mark him down to the 40-yard line. And 4th down coming up.
And they ran a stunt beautifully right there, like you mentioned, using Merrill as well as Kylan Connors, 2 of the best pass rushers on this team, and it worked to perfection that time.
Ryland Hurley back to punt this one away. Bates and Martin back inside their own 25 to receive it. Hurley gets this away. It's a low kick, end over end, bounces at the 30. And that ball's going to get away from Elyria Catholic. Mikey Bates jumped up to try and receive it. Loose ball is on the turf just outside the numbers away from us here. And the officials trying to pull some bodies off the pile. And it looks like Elyria Catholic jumped on it. So fortunate for Elyria Catholic, they were able to jump on that. That was a big gamble by Mikey Bates.
Yes, I was going to say, talk about taking a risk. I understand wanting to save some yardage. But you were still outside of the 20. It looked like that thing might have gone out of bounds. So in that case, you may just want to leave it alone. Very fortunate to get the ball back here.
8:31 to play in the opening quarter. Elyria Catholic will start this drive at their own 23-yard line. Last time they had the ball offensively, they went 3 and out.
They did try their best to get Castillo going. Obviously won't be surprised if they try to go to him again here early.
Essenmacher takes the low snap. They'll give to Castillo. Castillo fights his way forward to maybe the 24. And Max, again, just didn't have a whole lot of room to operate. You wonder maybe the timing of that was thrown off because of that low snap.
That definitely a case there. And then one of the kind of just gadget players, Brandon Nicholson, shot off the edge. And there was nobody to account for him because there was already 7 other guys up front that in that box they have to deal with.
A shift in personnel. Jazir Terry will come in, and now they've got 4 receivers to work with. Zion Castillo on the left side of the quarterback, Essenmacher. Essenmacher will keep it, but the Irish not fooled. Essenmacher was able to get away from one defender before he was tackled back around the 23.
So right there, they try to mitigate some of that pressure and use a read man. Unfortunately for them, Ryan Pytash was not fooled at all, and he was able to get a hold of Essenmacher pretty early in that play. Just made it trouble from early on right there.
And talking with some people from St. Vincent-St. Mary entering tonight's game, they said they looked at this as one of the games left on their schedule that they felt like they had a realistic chance at winning. Jazir Terry at quarterback now. He'll take the snap, running it to the near side, trying to turn the corner, spins away from one defender, then he's ripped out at the 24. We've got more laundry on the field. Another one came in late. And another one comes in. A hat comes flying as well. And that is a really tough one for St. Vincent-St. Mary to take. We have flags flying, and that's going to go on Ryan Pytash. And he just cost them a first, or I should say he puts Elyria Catholic in an advantageous position here because that would have been 4th down and long. Instead, it's going to give Elyria Catholic a first down.
I mean, and that whole dust-up or scuffle, whatever you want to call it, started because him and Amari Lynn, I mean, they had a heck of a battle going on the perimeter of the line there. So, I mean, both guys going at it, that's fine. But you just got to cut it off there as soon as the play's away from you and the whistle blows. And like you said, I mean, he did his job. He helped set the edge or move the play outside, I should say, and the other defenders came in and cleaned it up. So definitely a freshman mistake there.
So a hold against Elyria Catholic, dead ball personal foul going against St. Vincent-St. Mary, and unsportsmanlike conduct going against the Fighting Irish as well. And as we mentioned, that's going to give Elyria Catholic a first down. It would have been 4th down and a country mile. But instead, a big mistake from the Fighting Irish will continue this drive for EC. We'll see what this offense can do with some new life here, Max.
Yeah, and obviously Pytash, he's made a couple impact plays before exiting the game right there, so see who steps up for St. V.
Terry sends Armelin in motion. They'll fake the give to Armelin. Big hole near side. Terry's off to the races. Works his way down the near sideline. He's taken down inside the 30 at the 28 for a first down. Brandon Nicholson made what certainly appeared to be a touchdown-saving tackle on the near sideline. And EC is inside Irish territory for the first time tonight.
Touchdown saving D. Right after Terry pulled the ball, I thought he was gone. There was nobody even looking at him. And, I mean, I guess going into the boundary side of the field may have led to that, but a huge bust right there from the Irish defense.
They got the Irish defense to bite on that give to Armelin. They'll send Armelin in motion again. Keeper again by Terry. Terry works the middle this time, collides with a couple of defenders before going down to the 22. And now they've found some sort of rhythm with Jazir Terry.
Yeah, he's providing a great change of pace as obviously Essenmacher, he has the ability to keep the ball in those situations, but Jazir Terry far more likely. It takes a lot of pressure off Zion Castillo, and it's left this St. Vincent-St. Mary defensive front guessing.
Castillo lined up in the backfield with Terry. They'll give to Castillo. Castillo room to run left side, keeps his legs churning, and he gets up to the 15-yard line. That'll move the sticks.
And that's a perfect example right there. Ray Hilton on the edge for the Irish at the defensive end spot. In plays past, he would have just crashed down on Castillo, but right there he has to stay honest because Terry just as easily could have taken that.
EC's inside the red zone, brought to you by Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services. Buying or selling soon. Visit superstevesells.com. That's superstevesells.com. Terry will pitch it right side of Castillo. Castillo gets across the edge. He's shoved out of bounds inside the 10-yard line, went out near the 9.
And normally with a smaller running back, you try to sneak him behind the offensive lineman. Right there, pitched out right away and just let him use his speed to try to get to the corner. A very good play on first down.
Well, they got Castillo running downhill 2 weeks ago against Vermilion. He had over 200 yards rushing in that game. Really kind of set the tone in a game where they gave Vermilion a dose of their own medicine. Castillo gets the carry again, bounces it to the outside, takes a big shot right around the 8-yard line. He didn't pick up much there, setting up third down.
And there hasn't been much of a presence through the passing game so far for EC's offense. So you got to wonder if it changes up anything about how St. Vincent-St. Mary less of the field to cover. You commit maybe an extra guy than normal. Try to put 9 guys in the box now. We'll see.
Third down and 3 for the Panthers. They have it at the 8-yard line of St. Vincent-St. Mary. Jazir Terry will grab the snap. He's going to keep it himself. Takes it right side. He's got first down yardage inside the 5, and he walks out of bounds on the far side at the 3.
And I love the style of offense we're seeing so far here from the Panthers as they just continue to stick with this identity of hard-nosed running the ball, not letting up.
Officials say he stepped out at the 4, so it's first and goal from the 4. And now they've got a jumbo package in. Zion Castillo to take the direct snap of the Wildcat. Room to run up the middle, and he's tackled at about the 2.
I'd love to be running behind the pair of guys in front of him, including a guy that normally you only see on the defensive side of the ball, Joey Schill right there, helping lead the way.
They've also brought in a couple of extra bodies. They give it again to Castillo. Castillo takes it straight forward. He's awfully close. No signal just yet. Looks like he's going to be short. Castillo gets just inside the 1-yard line. So it'll be third down and goal. And I don't know that they could be much closer to the goal line without being in.
No, and Ryan Hurley made sure of that. I mean, great effort. I mean, while he's being blocked, he was able to get a hand on Castillo and finish by driving through that tackle, setting this big play up here.
They'll send a man in motion. Actually, they're going to send that man straight forward, and he's in for the touchdown. They sent a man in motion to come take the snap under center. He plunges his way in for the score, And Elyria Catholic draws first blood. They've got a 6-0 lead.
That's a perfect play call right there. Obviously, it's not your traditional QB sneak. You got a guy a lot bigger than a quarterback under there. But it's not flashy. It's not fancy by any means. But it's just whatever you have to do to get some points on the board. And I imagine they'll be at a premium this game.
Essenmacher on for the extra point to try and make it 7-0 Panthers. Hold is down, kick is on the way, and Essenmacher will punch it through to make it 7-0 EC with 3:21 to play here in the first quarter on our Game of the Week. Brought to you by Legacy Home Finance, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Moments ago, EC finished a 12-play, 77-yard drive on a 1-yard touchdown plunge on 3rd down and goal. They lead 7-0 with 3:21 left in the first quarter. Essenmacher set to kick it back to St. Vincent-St. Mary. He'll get his left foot into it, and this kick will be retrieved right around the 12-yard line. Taken up to the 20 on the far side. And somehow Hurley's able to stay on his feet, working his way toward the far sideline. He goes down close to the 46. Boy, Rylan Hurley looked like he was down at the 40, but he kind of went down on a defender that he kept moving forward and picked up some extra yards. And Max, once again, the Irish have great field position.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of play I mentioned it at the start of that first drive that you need. Little did we know it was going to be Hurley himself setting himself and the offense up with this premium of field position. Well, and as I say that, they'll bring Adamson back in under center.
So it's 1st down and 10 for the Irish at their own 49-yard line. Back to pass. And their pass is tossed across the middle. It's intercepted by Elyria Catholic at the 33-yard line. Jazir Terry with the pick. And at the end of that play, Will Adamson took a really big shot, and you have to wonder if it took something off that pass, Max.
Yeah, and his internal clock there, it didn't go off because that was a long time to stand there. And from his blind side, he gets hit as he lets it go, and it certainly led to the Jazir Terry interception right there. So making big impact on offense and then right there on defense.
Well, a lot has changed, going all the way back to that 3rd down play, personal foul, and an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, both against St. Vincent-St. Mary in a scenario where EC would have had to punt. Everything has changed since. Both Terry and Essenmacher took snaps at quarterback last week in the win over Padua. Jazir Terry's had the hot hand of late, though. He'll grab the snap and he'll run to his right, trying to get across the edge, and instead he gets shoved out of bounds on the far side, and it's hard to tell where exactly they're going to spot him down, but it looks like that could be for a loss.
Well, and it was thanks to just the great closeout that time once again from Hurley as he was able to drive him out of bounds and finish off that play for looks like maybe a loss of 1. It's the first time we've seen Terry move backwards on a run play.
2nd down and 11. Jules Martin in the backfield along with Zion Castillo. Slow snap, and they'll give this one to Castillo. Castillo's able to get across the right side, and he collides with a couple of Fighting Irish right around the 38. He gets about 5 yards on that, and a more manageable scenario facing EC here on 3rd down.
Yeah, they desperately need that to stay on schedule, and once again, it's just another one of those read plays that frees the defensive end just long enough, and they're able to go make something happen.
3rd and 5 scenario here. They've got to get just past the 43-yard line to keep this drive going. They'll keep the same personnel on the field. Jazir Terry wants the snap. He gets it. They give to Castillo, and Castillo is ripped out at the 40-yard line. Just didn't have a whole lot of room to operate. Ryan Pytash closed that gap very quickly and limited him to a gain of just a couple of yards.
And it's a good thing that he wasn't fooled and was able to get a hold of Castillo, because the rest of that Elyria Catholic offensive line had walled off the left side of the defense there, so that might have not only gotten the first down, but a lot more.
This will force Elyria Catholic to punt. Hurley back around his own 31-yard line. Connor Lattee with his heels at his own 29, ready to send this one away. He'll get this punt off. End over end, retrieved by Hurley at the 29-yard line. He's got room to run, takes it past the 40, turns the corner at the 50-yard line. He's wrestled out of bounds inside the 40, but another flag close to the area where he turned the corner at the 45 of St. Vincent-St. Mary.
And the officials, they're calling it pretty close tonight, so in those situations, some of these guys are just going to have to live with it and let go and deal with the repercussions they may get from their coach, and that just comes from being in the right angle or getting to your spot a little bit faster. But you'll learn that on film on Saturday, but tonight you just got to kind of let those go.
Waiting to see where exactly the foul occurred. The official with the laundry has it at the 46-yard line. And they will march off 10, sending it all the way back to the Fighting Irish 36. So that's where they're going to take over. Dodged a bit of a bullet their last time out as Jazir Terry picked off a pass, but their defense answered the call, forcing a 3-and-out. Adamson back at it, quarterback again. 6'2 sophomore, claps his hands together. He gets the snap. They'll hand it off right side, and there's just nowhere for that ball carrier to go. Anderson Campbell, a sophomore, 5'8", $175. But he gets knocked down for a loss on the play.
Yeah, just fantastic pursuit by a lot of that defense there. Joels Martin was able to finish that off after, I believe it was Connors who got the first hit on him. So it's a great job there by flowing to the ball.
Well, offensively tonight, we haven't seen a whole lot of this St. Vincent-St. Mary team because they just haven't been able to get into a rhythm. No flow yet. Back to pass. They'll fire right side. The pass goes incomplete. They were trying to set up a tight end screen to Janelle Baker, but that pass had a bit too much zip and too much air underneath it as well. Kind of hung his tight end out to dry a bit there.
Yeah, not only with the high pass, but also it just took a while to develop, and the receivers on the boundary side there just weren't able to hold their blocks long enough. And like you say, even if it was a little closer within reach, it's probably not getting very far.
The timing of that was off also. Adamson kind of bobbled that shotgun snap. And he's been under duress for most of the night. 3rd down and 12 coming up from their own 34-yard line. Adamson will drop back again, facing some pressure, throws near side to the right. The pass goes incomplete. Well, he was looking for Giovanni Vincent. Jules Martin was on the coverage, and EC's defense steps up yet again.
Yeah, so that time he gets rid of the ball a lot quicker, which is a positive step from the previous drive. Just right there, not really a lot of open spots. Tight coverage there by the Panthers defense, and they do have a decent amount of experience in that secondary, so it's going to be tough to try to find anything as the game goes on.
Bates and Martin back for EC. Hurley will retrieve the snap and get this punt away. High kick. Martin comes up to the 36-yard line to retrieve it. Immediately takes it to the near side. Nice little stutter step, and he shoved out of bounds inside St. Vincent-St. Mary territory. He went out right around the 39-yard line.
That's unfortunate for the Irish because you had a couple guys down there. I think they were expecting a fair catch maybe, and he sees, okay, they're not attacking, so I'll just take the perimeter.
That's going to bring us to the end of the first quarter at the end of one. It's 7-0 Elyria Catholic on top of St. Vincent-St. Mary on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. EC leads 7-0 over St. Vincent-St. Mary as we get set to begin the second quarter of action. Rather, EC will take over at the St. Vincent-St. Mary 39-yard line. Jazir Terry certainly has this offense rolling. They'll give inside to Mikey Bates. Bates steps out of a tackle at the 36, and he fights forward to about the 34-yard line. So he picks up 5 yards on first down.
That's a guy I'm surprised we haven't seen yet. I mean, 14 carries on the ground so far for this team. The 15th one going to him. With how explosive he can be, I'm surprised we didn't see him at all in that first quarter.
They'll spot him down at the 35, so it's a 4-yard pickup on first down. But Elyria Catholic certainly has hit their stride offensively with the ground game. We saw that a couple of weeks ago. Continue to push those right buttons last week in the win over Padua. Terry will grab the snap. They hand this one off up the middle this time, nowhere to go. That Irish front four able to seek out Mikey Bates and drop him for no gain.
And after, obviously, they had the one scoring drive earlier in the first quarter, since then they've been doing a lot better job trying to keep contained and keep a lot of the runs in front of them rather than trying to shoot through and get too far in the backfield.
They've got some pretty big bodies up front, even though they are pretty young. They'll send a man in motion to the near side. It's Armelin. Armelin trying to get around the corner. He does. He's got some room to work with. He gets inside the 20 and tackled along the hash of the 19-yard line for a first down. Corey Armelin, who has seen a lot more action in this running game the last couple of weeks, picks up a big first down there and a third down scenario for EC.
Yeah, great patience right there, waiting, and then cutting right through the hole as soon as it opened up. Once he hit outside the hash mark there, and a huge play on this drive to keep it going.
Terry's got 4 receivers at his disposal. They'll hand it off again to Bates. Bates works his way to the right side, and he's corralled inside the 15. They'll mark him down near the 11.
And right now, it certainly feels like gut check time if you're the Irish, because with the way that this offense is moving and taking up a lot of the time of possession, not even sure how many more possessions you'll get towards halftime, let alone and then into the rest of the game. So this is huge if you can force a field goal.
Terry will give it to Bates again, and that time he had no room to work with. Bates was stopped right around the 12-yard line, and it'll be third down and short for the Panthers. Really haven't had as much success running at the teeth of that defensive line. They've had some more success getting off the edge. Easy for me to say up here, but now you're looking at third down and about 3. A spot in the field where maybe it's 4-down territory.
It certainly could be, and with how well your defense is playing as well, you don't feel a lot of fear if you choose to keep them out there. But yeah, like you said, it's very surprising because there's a lot of size on this EC offensive line, so you almost expect them to be moving St. V off the ball a little bit more.
Jumbo package into this Wildcat formation. Direct snap will go right back to Castillo. Castillo gets outside to the right, works his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers. A 12-yard touchdown rush on 3rd and 3 for Zion Castillo. And the Panthers have reached pay dirt for the second time tonight. They lead 13-0 with 8:54 to go in the second quarter.
So like you said, it is the power formation, but right there they choose to go off tackle away from a lot of the interior pressure that St. V's been showing, and it pays off beautifully. As Castillo, all he has to do is get past 1 or 2 guys right there at the first level, and he's gone. 3rd
touchdown of the season for Castillo. And Essenmacher has come on for the extra point. There was some movement on the right side of the line, our right, and it looks like somebody jumped off sides for St. Vincent-St. Mary. Indeed, they did. So it effectively doesn't cost them much. And they'll try and do this again to try and make it a 14-0 lead. We mentioned the final score last year, 28-22. And what was a challenging year, certainly, for both teams. And you can see the growth, Max, with EC this season. Getting better week by week, even though they aren't aligned the way they thought they would be with some key injuries.
Yeah, and I think it's just, at this point, they're doing whatever it takes to get these wins, and it doesn't matter how it comes by, how pretty it is. They've learned how to win in a sense, and they're just doing whatever they can, keep getting more points on the scoreboard. They're just keeping it simple. They're not getting bored with that success either.
14-0 EC, just inside of 9 minutes to go in the second quarter on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Moments ago, EC needed just a half dozen plays to go 51 yards, and they get into the end zone for the second time tonight. On a 3rd down and 3 situation, Zion Castillo runs out of the Wildcat 12-yard touchdown rush to make it 14-0 Panthers. Essenmacher with a squib kick that goes down the right hash. It'll bounce around, and eventually it's picked up right around the 18-yard line by Hurley. He gets popped. The ball's on the turf. However, the Fighting Irish are able to jump on that loose ball at the 19-yard line. A heads-up play by Mike Frazier to jump on that loose ball after Hurley had it ripped away around the 25-yard line.
What a collision. Chad Howard and Connor Britton for the Panthers combining on that hit, and that's not going to feel good tomorrow or the next day. But like you said, very fortunate to St. V to get back on that ball.
They'll spot the ball at the 20-yard line. And the Fighting Irish with 1 turnover already tonight on Jazir Terry's interception. Well, they almost coughed up a big one a few moments ago, but again, a heads-up play by Frazier to jump on the loose ball.
And unfortunately for their offense, their starting field position just keeps on moving back right now. It's not helping things.
That shotgun snap he gets, it looks right, throws right, and the pass falls incomplete. He was looking for his tight end Baker again, but they just didn't appear to be on the same page.
Yeah, the timing just slightly off as the ball almost was caught between there as he also had Travis Owens underneath, so kind of tough to tell where he wanted that exactly, but there was also a couple Panthers in the area, so it would have been catching traffic even if it was on location.
EC defense has certainly stepped up the last 2 weeks in their wins against Vermilion and against Padua on the road last week. Back to pass, Adamson again, facing some pressure, fires left side. The pass is ruled incomplete right in front of EC head coach Chase Ferris. And that's Jules Martin on the coverage again. He was able to deny Giovanni Vincent.
And he floated between 2 of the receivers there. Somehow, I don't know how he closed out so quickly, but he was able to put enough pressure on Vincent, who tried the toe tap. He just couldn't get the feet down in time.
They're looking at 3rd down and 10, and Max, they've been in this scenario a lot tonight.
Well, they've been forced into a lot of quick hitting plays, and it's just led to a lot of rushed and off timing plays right here, especially on these passing downs.
Adamson facing pressure again. He gets sacked inside the 10-yard line. He went down near the 9. Jazir McLeod with the big sack.
Yeah, I mean, he punched in the touchdown earlier, gets a sack to finish off that offensive drive for St. Vincent-St. Mary. I mean, he's all over the field tonight.
Jazir McIllia, I apologize for saying his name incorrectly. He was responsible for that 1-yard touchdown rush earlier. Hurley will get a high kick away, and this is going to bounce at about the 43-yard line. It'll keep on rolling for St. Vincent-St. Mary. And the Irish will down it close to the EC 49-yard line. That's where they're going to take over with 7:54 to go on this second quarter clock. So now, Max, you know, you're asking a lot out of this defense. They've been on the field a lot tonight. And normally in high school, you don't necessarily see it in the second quarter. But they're playing on their heels quite a bit here. They were able to answer the bell the first couple of series. They looked okay. But this is about that point of the game. We really start to see this wear on a team that's still looking for that first win.
Yeah, and like you said, normally that doesn't take effect until the second half, but their offense has only been out there 8 plays, and it's got to be at least double or triple that for EC's offense. So they're going to have to do their best to try to keep things in front and just get as many guys in the front 8 if they can.
Armelin goes in motion, but they'll give to Castillo. He's got room to run left side as he plunges his way inside Irish territory to about the 48. He'll pick up just about 3 yards.
And unfortunately for the Irish, it plays perfectly for how EC wants to move the ball on offense, especially here recently with some of the changes they've made. And it just gives them more of a chance to work through those and get more live game reps of that.
Mikey Bates will come into the game. Zion Castillo will check out. A little bit of confusion for EC. I think there were some personnel not quite sure should they stay, should they go, but now they got the right ones on the field. Essenmacher will pitch it right side to Bates. Has to redirect back towards the middle, and he gets tackled at about the 46. They tried to change field there, and when he tried to shift, it looked like he had an opening, but it closed pretty quickly.
Yeah, Duke Clayton stepping up huge that time from his linebacker spot because it looked like they had him bottled up originally. He escaped from that, and if it wasn't for Clayton, he may have cut back across the formation and running along those opposite numbers still.
3rd down and 6 coming up here for the Panthers. Inside Irish territory at the 46. Pressure coming. Essenmacher dumps it off left side. It's caught by Connor Lattee, but he's corralled at the 43-yard line. He'll be a few yards short of a 1st down.
And the design there was perfect as St. V decided to bring a blitz, try to catch him off guard, and it ends up being just a little slip route out of the backfield to that side. And fortunately for St. V, they were able to get a hold of that before the 1st down line.
A big shift in personnel. Although the way they're lined up right now, it doesn't necessarily look like they're going to punt it away. It'll be 4th down and about 3. And they may end up milking the play clock here and perhaps burn a timeout with inside of 6 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter to talk about this here and see what they want to do on this 4th down and 3 scenario. And we have a whistle and a timeout called by Elyria Catholic, just as we expected. Timeouts throughout the night brought to you by Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran, securing and organizing real estate documents. That's Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran. Coming up at the half, we have our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. We'll give you a scoring recap, some first half stats. We will rate the dog and also take a look at some scores from around the area as well. Again, that's coming up in the next few minutes here on our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. Well, a chance here, not necessarily to go for the kill, Max, but a chance here to keep this drive going and just continue to grind away on a St. Vincent-St. Mary defense that has been on the field a ton.
Yeah, and with how steadily they've been moving down the field, if they can convert here, they realistically, I don't think it'd be an exaggeration to say they could drain the rest of this first half clock down to under a minute.
They're going to keep this Wildcat personnel on the field. Zion Castillo waiting on that direct snap. He gets it. He gets hit in the backfield and dropped. It was Hurley who first got to him, and they'll be stopped short on 4th down. Rylan Hurley has been all over the place tonight.
Yeah, so on previous drives, St. V had similar strategy, bringing guys off the edge to try to catch him before he hits the hole, and they just didn't get there in time. This time, off the edge, like out of a cannon, like you said, Hurley able to clean that one up. And now you get a chance here. The more important part is just trying to stay on the field a bit until halftime. Give your defense a little bit more of a break, and the Irish do get the ball out of halftime. So obviously you would like to score here, but at most, do not give EC another chance on offense to get a short field and get another score before halftime.
They have used both Hurley and Adamson at quarterback, and now they're going to switch back to Hurley. 5'10 senior calls for the snap. He gets it. And they're going to give this one right side. They call the number yet again of Anderson Campbell, a sophomore. And he's able to get close to the 46. It picks up just a few yards on that. But that's positive yardage, and they haven't picked up a whole lot of that in their last couple of drives.
Yeah, they just need to establish a couple plays back-to-back. Just get 1 or 2 first downs here, and that will go a long way for the confidence of this offense. And then maybe you force EC to try to change something up on their end, and that's where you can maybe catch them off guard.
And Campbell isn't a guy that's been tremendously included in their rushing attack. We've got whistles, and somebody moved early for the Irish. That's going to cost them 5 yards.
Well, that's very similar to earlier in the game. Obviously, that included a personal foul when they had a 4th down forced on EC and then gave up a 1st down. But right there, you're ahead of the change. You're somewhat on schedule. Just a procedural penalty that's fully in your control. You just got to be able to sort those out here on Friday nights.
Well, we're at the point in the season now where it's no longer too early to start talking about the P word, right? Playoffs, something we'll continue to discuss as we scoreboard watch, which, of course, we frequently do. We'll add to that here in just a moment. But they'll give this one yet again to the sophomore Anderson Campbell. And he's able to get up to about the 43. He didn't pick up a ton there. He got a little bit, setting up 3rd down and 10. And, you know, when you talk about playoff scenarios, you can't ignore what EC has coming up on the schedule. They've got some really tough opponents, but as it stands today, according to Joe Hytel, they've got the 11th spot in Division III, Region 10. Now, in order to alter the course of that, of course, they've got to win here tonight, but then you look at the teams they have left. Holy Name, they've lost just once this year. And they got Lake Catholic, who's got a tough one tonight, but they've had a heck of a year also. CVCA, out to a tremendous start. And there are just a lot of big obstacles, but maybe if you can surprise 1 or 2 teams along the way. With 12 teams only getting in, it's a little bit tougher. And if you have 3 losses, it's an uphill battle, but at least there's a chance.
Yeah, you read my mind a bit there with just needing 1 or 2, because the amount of playoff points you could get from that could be enough to carry you over. And, you know, including tonight, the next 3 games after this, all at home. So you at least have that playing in your favor. And like you said, a lot of those other teams, they're playing tough schedules as well. Maybe you catch them after they face a juggernaut of sorts. And, you know, some of those factors add up, and you can come out on top.
So it'll be 3rd down and 10 here, coming out of that timeout. And it'll be Hurley leading the charge again. And Anderson Campbell in the backfield with him. Hurley will drop back, facing pressure, dumps it across the middle, incomplete. Looking for the tight end again. He was searching for Janelle Baker, but the pass falls incomplete. And 4th down coming up here for St. Vincent-St. Mary.
And just a great job in coverage, double covered, really. Corey Armelin as well as Aiden Kohlmeyer just had the top of that route and the underneath part of it covered up. So a tight window to begin with. And Hurley, obviously, is not the pocket passer of the 2 they like to play, so that's an even tougher throw to try to make.
Hurley set up to punt it away. Pressure coming, gets it away quickly. And the overend kick, it's bobbled, and the ball's on the turf right around the 27-yard line. St. Vincent-St. Mary says they've got it, and the official confirms our suspicion down on the field. Jules Martin couldn't hang on to it. And that's a big turnover that gives this offense a little bit of life. Maybe that's the shot in the arm they needed. Second time tonight, Max, that they've had issues receiving a punt.
Yeah, and that's with 2 guys back there. So normally that's supposed to take some pressure off you because you don't have to cover as much of the field. Not the case that time, and you may have heard on the loudspeaker there, Aiden Roberts, just a sophomore, jumping on that ball. So heads-up play there by the Irish, the young man.
They'll stick with Hurley at quarterback. And this time they're going to bring Brandon Nicholson in as the tailback. He's handled a bulk of their rushing duties this season. They'll hand it off to him. Spins off one defender. Works his way up the middle, and he's finally tackled inside the 15 at the 14-yard line.
Yeah, right there, spinning off the back of one of his own linemen. And I think it just slowed everyone else down, thinking that he was still stuck in that pile, and the senior breaks out of there. And like you said, he's getting a bulk of the carries and averaging right around 4 yards a pop. So it's ideally where you'd want to be, and to be supportive of the youngster they have at quarterback and the inexperience there.
Nicholson off the right hip of the quarterback, Hurley. Hurley will keep it. Room to run left side. Stiff arms one defender. Stiff arms another. Then he goes out of bounds near the 6.
Well, that's the perfect kind of setup play. That was the first play that they ran in the ball game, except they gave it to Vincent this time. Hurley wisely keeps it and sets them up with first and goal. Or, excuse me, close to first and goal.
Well, they said he stepped out at the 8-yard line. So that sets up second down and about 4. They can get a first down, as Max mentioned, without getting into the end zone. They seem to have found something on the ground here. Still searching for something in that passing game. Rylan Hurley will hand it off again to Nicholson. This time he has stood up and he's dropped. Kylan Connors got a hold of him and never let go. Joey Schill came in there to clean up the back end of that play, and he had some help from Weston Williams as well.
And with Connors' size, just 6 foot 175, you expect him to be a pass rushing specialist. No, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty and get involved in the run game. And now 3rd and long here. This is a huge spot for the Irish offense.
So it'll be 3rd down and 9 here. And that's a huge play that Elyria Catholic needed to kind of stifle some of this momentum. 4 receivers for Hurley to work with. He's got 3 to his right. Hurley going to try and run it. And he gets taken down at the 15-yard line. Just didn't have anywhere to go as that hole up the middle, Max, collapsed very quickly.
Well, and when they don't have that threat of putting the ball in the air, it just leads to a lot of the linebackers and safeties looking in that backfield, and they see no threat of the arm going up, and that's where they're going to fly upfield to.
So with just inside of 90 seconds to go before halftime, a big shift in personnel. And they are going to attempt a field goal here. Caden Rogers is going to try and push it through, but we have a timeout called by Elyria Catholic. We'll take this timeout as well. 1:16 to go, second quarter, EC 14, St. Vincent-St. Mary nothing on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week on the Lorain County Sports Network. Caden Rogers trying to get St. Vincent-St. Mary on the board. This would be a 31-yard field goal if he can put it through and get the Fighting Irish some points. They'll send the snap back. Rogers has his kick blocked. It's deflected at the line of scrimmage, and we have some more laundry on the field. We've got a flag right around where that ball was kicked. A personal foul. That's a roughing the kicker against Elyria Catholic. That's a really, really big one. So that will allow this St. Vincent-St. Mary offense to come back onto the field.
So the shocking part of that call is Schill blocked the kick and then went into the holder. So the kicker had gotten out of the way. I'm shocked that the flag was thrown there as he made contact with the ball. And as he was rolling over, I think the holder was getting up and they happened to collide. It's a tough break.
So not only does it keep this drive alive, but that's also going to set them up. First down and goal with the ball placed at the 7-yard line. Penalties have loomed very large on both sides tonight. First down and goal for the Fighting Irish. Rylan Hurley comes back out of the field with Nicholson off his right side. They send a man in motion. It'll be a keeper for Hurley. Hurley is hit and dropped between the hash and the numbers on the right side at about the 6-yard line.
You can't blame them for trying to attract the attention of the EC defense onto Vincent, but it appears they learned their lesson from the last time they tried that, and maybe a gain of 1 if that.
Well, they've got all 3 timeouts to work with, and now they're running out of time here. Inside of 40 seconds to go on the second quarter clock. Rylan Hurley calls for the snap and gets it. Fires left side, incomplete. He was trying to get that to Giovanni Vincent, but he just airmailed him toward the near sideline.
I'm interested to see where you let this ball go at. Right around the 12, where does it land? That's awful close to going backwards. That was a very close play there.
And timeout's been called by the Fighting Irish with 25 seconds left before halftime. And I think here, at 3rd down and 7, they need some time to think about this. They just haven't been able to get that passing game on track at all here tonight.
No, and, they have a couple guys who have some targets on the season, have a decent amount of catches, but it's one thing when you're out in the open field and you have these quick out routes. Right now, it almost feels like end zone or nothing, because if you don't get in here, I got to imagine they're going to opt for points. But even then, you'll be trotting out a freshman kicker, so there's a lot to consider here for this coaching staff.
And this was all set up by a botched punt return. Second time EC has fumbled one tonight. They recovered the first one, weren't so fortunate last time around. That gave St. Vincent-St. Mary terrific field position, taking over at the EC 27-yard line. 3rd and goal at the 7. Hurley looking to the far sideline to get the instructions from his coaching staff, and now they appear to be out of sorts a bit. He's by himself in the backfield. He'll take the snap. Looking to his left. Now he redirects, going to the right. Gets away from a defender. He'll fire to the back of the end zone. Has a man wide open. It's Baker. He makes the catch for the touchdown. Janeel Baker on the receiving end of a 7-yard touchdown strike from Rylan Hurley. And St. Vincent-St. Mary is on the board, an extra point away from cutting that deficit at half.
What a job to keep the play alive there by Hurley. And then you also got to shout out, like you said, Baker, who he kept following his quarterback that time, running right along the edge line. Good job to stay in bounds, and the Panthers defense just lost him.
Caden Rogers trying to punch this point after attempt through. And my, how the tides have turned. Fumbled punt, roughing the kicker penalty on a field goal that was blocked. They'll send the snap back. Rogers' extra point, a line drive kick that somehow sneaks through. So it's 14-7 with just 15 seconds left in the second quarter. Well, this thing just got real interesting, Max, because a few moments ago it really looked like Elyria Catholic was going to run away with this thing. They went for it on 4th down, turned it over on downs. Defense answered the bell again. They forced a 3-and-out, but then they fumble the punt, and they give St. Vincent-St. Mary a short field to work with, and this time they capitalized.
Yeah, even if they would have got a hold of that punt and kept possession, I mean, there's around 4 minutes left, so I wasn't overly concerned if they went down and scored or not, just to keep St. V's offense off the field, keeping that pressure on the defense. But now, like you said, giving up the score and the Irish getting the ball to open the third quarter, this game, it's completely flipped on its head, it feels like.
Well, you've given a team life. Again, they came in at 0-5. They felt a little bit better about their performance last week against VASJ. And that's a Division III powerhouse on the east side. They're always strong one year after the next. Coach Rotsky always has those guys ready. And, Coach Grant mentioned a couple days ago, look, we felt better about the way we operated last week, but with as many young guys as we start, we know we're going to take our lumps. But now they've got a little more swagger and a bit more confidence. Rogers will kick this one down the left side. It'll be picked up right around the 35-yard line and taken up to about the 46. And that was Amir Kayat on the return.
Beat me to it. I was going to mention that took some confidence there, and now it gives them the option if they want to take a shot. I don't imagine they will, but if he lets that roll, they might be starting inside their own 30.
Well, with the offense they've been running, it's not necessarily designed to take deep shots down the field. When they were more spread out with Robbie DeRay taking the snaps, they were certainly structured different and seemed like maybe they were more apt to take shots down the field. And with 11 seconds, maybe you could pick up 30 quick yards in the course of a couple of plays and maybe give yourself a chance at a field goal. But now, the power is this rushing attack, which can certainly break you off big chunks.
Sure.
But again, you only have 11 seconds to work with. Nobody in the backfield with Jazir Terry. 5 wide look for the Panthers. Terry will take the snap. Rolling out to the far side, surveying the field, and now he's going to run. Takes it across the 50, off to the races as he's able to make a man miss and stumbles down inside the 30, but that will take all 11 seconds off the clock, and that's officially going to take us to the half. Well, hold on just a moment here.
Looked like the one official wanted the clock to stop, but it was very quick hitting.
So the tackle was indeed made with 1 second left on the clock. And as we look at that other sideline, they cannot believe it as they were ready to go into the locker room at the half and talk things over. But that tackle was made with just 1 second left on the clock. Elyria Catholic will take their final timeout.
And good job keeping an eye on where the closest official was by the EC coaching staff. I think they may have been calling timeout as he was still up, but when he fell, it looked like there may have been just the one tick. So works out there, and either an end zone shot or looking at the uprights.
Terry was able to pick up somewhere in the area of 27 yards on that scramble. And now they're going to make some noise and see if this EC offense can get in the end zone one more time in this opening half. Terry, the quarterback, Castillo, the tailback. They'll send a man in motion. It's Essenmacher. Terry rolls out to the right, surveying the field. Looking down the field, he fires to the right. The pass falls incomplete. And that will officially take us to the end of the first half, even though there is some laundry on the field. It's a hold against EC, but that will be declined by Lorain Grant. Well, an interesting first half. It's 14-7 Panthers. We will rehash all of that, get you a scoring recap, some first half stats, we'll rate the dog, and also take a look at some scores from across the area as well on our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. That comes your way after this on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network.
Lorain County Sports Network presents the top high school football plays of the year from weeks 1 through 5. Don't miss the action. It's completely free. Subscribe today and follow our YouTube channel. Drop your vote in the comments. What is the best play so far? Lorain County Sports Network, your home for high school football.
This is Tarek. He is a junior. And back deep to receive is Wyatt McKee, number 1. You're going to hear a lot of his name, and here we go, breaking a tackle, and he's got one man to beat as he crosses the 50-yard line. The kicker, goodbye, 30, 20, 10, 5. Let's go, Lorain County Sports Network.
Makes that defense for North Olmsted have to manage a lot, and he's just going to use the speed. Outside, touchdown, Zach Barnhart, as that's our first score of the season, at least on our side of the Lorain County Sports Network. And the Rangers go right down the field on their opening drive and finish it off with a touchdown.
3rd down and 5 at the Highland 11-yard line. Dawson Tenbrink grabs the snap. They'll go up the middle again. Jones breaks a big tackle inside the 5, marches into the end zone. Touchdown, Shorman. He was hit at the 12-yard line, said, gonna take a lot more than that to bring me down. He marches 11 yards into the end zone, and Avon Lake is an extra point away from tying this up.
For it. It's 4th and 20 from their own 28-yard line, or excuse me, from Westlake's 28-yard line. Williams drops back. He's got time. He's got a receiver. It's Newton!
Beautiful.
Oh, my God, he just got mossed.
Yeah.
Brennan Newton goes up from 28 yards out and hauls it in.
Sir Brendan.
Long here. Walter has 4 receivers at his disposal. Grabs the snap and he drops back. We have a flag looking down the field. Walter throws this one and it's intercepted. Picked off at about the 15-yard line. It's Pruitt and he takes it into the end zone. Touchdown, Firelands. It's a 15-yard pick 6, and that'll make it 12-0 Firelands with 3:16.
Whitaker drops back. He's got Serrano across the middle. Makes a man miss. Now he's got the room to run as the Tights Tigers are trying to catch him, and they're not. Touchdown, Serrano. No penalty flags on the play. He's got Clapham in motion. He's going to drop back and looks to throw. Oh,
my
God.
The DB went for the
what
pick.
What a catch as that is Vincent-St, number 22.
Oh, my.
What a catch that was.
Guidetti rolling out far side to the left on 3rd down and long. He'll chuck this deep down the field. The pass is intercepted. It's picked up by Dominic Bell. He takes it up past the 15-yard line to the 20. Takes it down the near side. He's got some room to run. Gets to the 50. Off to the races inside the 40 of Northwestern. Cuts back inside 20. 15, 10, 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown Black River. A 90-yard pick six from Dominic Bell. Off the left side of Essenmacher. And Essenmacher will give it to him again. Castillo works his way right side, spins his way into the end zone. Touchdown Panthers. A 5-yard touchdown rush for Zion Castillo. And that'll make it 16-0 EC with 9:23 to play.
Back to start things off from their own 35-yard line. Handoff
here we go.
Up the middle again.
Here we go.
Marcus McMahon, and I don't know if anyone's going to get him.
Here we
as
go.
he is going all the way. They push him into the end zone. Oh, did they push him out? One referee saying, hold on. Wait a minute. Do we have a signal? Looks like we're going to have a touchdown. After we look, it looked like the one ref was coming to spot it, saying that he was out of bounds. No, we do. So he
left side to Freeman. Freeman makes one man miss. Gets to the sideline. He's to the 10, to the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown Phoenix. A 19-yard touchdown dash for Corey Freeman, and Oberlin's on the board.
Those are your starting lineups on defense for Columbia. Oh, that one is picked off, and that's going to be Wesley Sanders, the quarterback, Jared, going all the way to the house from 20 yards out about.
Lorain County Sports Network presents the top high school football plays of the year from weeks 1 through 5. Don't miss the action. It's completely free. Subscribe today and follow our YouTube channel. Drop your vote in the comments. What is the best play so far? Lorain County Sports Network, your home for high school football.
This is Tarek. He is a junior. And back deep to receive is Wyatt McKee, number 1. You're going to hear a lot of his name, and here we go, breaking a tackle, and he's got one man to beat as he crosses the 50-yard line. The kicker, goodbye, 30, 20, 10, 5. Let's go, Lorain County Sports Network.
Makes that defense for North Olmsted have to manage a lot, and he's just going to use the speed. Outside, touchdown, Zach Barnhart, as that's our first score of the season, at least on our side of the Lorain County Sports Network. And the Rangers go right down the field on their opening drive and finish it off with a touchdown.
3rd down and 5 at the Highland 11-yard line. Dawson Tenbrink grabs the snap. They'll go up the middle again. Jones breaks a big tackle inside the 5, marches into the end zone. Touchdown, Shorman. He was hit at the 12-yard line, said, gonna take a lot more than that to bring me down. He marches 11 yards into the end zone, and Avon Lake is an extra point away from tying this up.
For it. It's 4th and 20 from their own 28-yard line, or excuse me, from Westlake's 28-yard line. Williams drops back. He's got time. He's got a receiver. It's Newton!
Beautiful.
Oh, my God, he just got mossed.
Yeah.
Brennan Newton goes up from 28 yards out and hauls it in.
Sir Brendan.
Long here. Walter has 4 receivers at his disposal. Grabs the snap and he drops back. We have a flag looking down the field. Walter throws this one and it's intercepted. Picked off at about the 15-yard line. It's Pruitt and he takes it into the end zone. Touchdown, Firelands. It's a 15-yard pick six, and that'll make it 12-0 Firelands with 3:16.
Whitaker drops back. He's got Serrano across the middle. Makes a man miss. Now he's got the room to run as the Tights Tigers are trying to catch him, and they're not. Touchdown, Serrano. No penalty flags on the play. He's got Clapham in motion. He's going to drop back and looks to throw. Oh,
my
God.
The DB went for the
What
pick.
a catch as that is Finn Jadonic, number 22.
Oh, my.
14-7 is our score halfway through this one between St. Vincent-St. Mary and Elyria Catholic. Happy to have this one for you on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Your local, reliable, trusted lender is Legacy Home Finance. Andy Bullbarch and Max Drummond on the call. Edwin Vereen is our director. Sam Sovacle working the camera. We are now officially in the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. If you have insurance questions, call Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. Before we dive into the numbers and the scoring recap and much more, Max, I think this score is a bit closer than many would have expected. Elyria Catholic, even though they're only up by 7, it just feels like physically they have dominated this game.
Yeah, it felt like they were in complete control and they were limiting their mistakes for the most part. And then the end of that second quarter comes around, and all it took was 1 or 2 plays for St. V to have a chance to get back in this game. And credit to the Irish, they took full advantage, even down to their it was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 or so, and it really looked like they were stacked up there and going to be forced to kick a field goal. But great job by a couple of those experienced guys on offense to get them back into this ballgame.
Now, Elyria, of course, is down to what they would consider their 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks. However, these are 2 guys who have been key contributors throughout the course of the year in Ben Essenmacher and Jazir Terry. But having said that, even though they're running a different offense, I think, than they expected to run a couple of weeks ago, you tip your cap to this defense of St. Vincent-St. Mary. They've been able to hold them to 14 points, and there have been a couple of moments in this game where it's really felt like this thing could have been busted wide open. An interception from Jazir Terry, that came 2 plays after a 1-yard touchdown rush that gave them a 7-0 lead. But that St. Vincent-St. Mary defense forced a 3 and out. That could have been disastrous. However, a little bit later on in that half, it was Zion Castillo taking it in from 12 yards out in a 3rd down scenario to make it 14-0. They would force a punt, and then Elyria Catholic in that punt return game has really been a little unpredictable. They muffed one punt return, but luckily they recovered it. Weren't so fortunate the second time around, and that gave St. Vincent-St. Mary a short field to work with. They capitalized on a roughing the kicker penalty on a blocked field goal, and then a couple of plays later, Janelle Baker was on the receiving end of a touchdown pass from Rylan Hurley, and this has just become one of those games where it feels like it could be war of attrition between the penalties and the turnovers.
Yeah, it's added up to that, and I mean, we talked about the strength of the schedule for both of these teams, and in a spot like this for Elyria Catholic where you took command of the game, these are ones that you don't want to be looking back on in week 9 or 10 when you are on that fringe or that bubble for the playoff spot, and look at a game like this that you gave away in a sense. Now we still got plenty of game left to play, and their defense was still playing very well. They were just put in a very bad spot. They're backed up inside their own 20 essentially to start that last drive. So certainly when they come out of the half and they have assumably have a full field to defend, it could get picked back up and get the momentum back their way, but it's not going to be easy because now St. V's got a little bit of pep in their step, and they're probably way more excited to come out for that second half now.
Elyria Catholic's second drive of the game was their first scoring drive, a 12-play, 77-yard drive, a 1-yard touchdown rush by Jazir McGillia. That made it 7-0 EC. We talked about the interception from Jazir Terry, but it didn't do much for the momentum of this game as they were forced to punt 3 plays later. Zion Castillo with a 12-yard touchdown rush that came on 3rd down and 3, made it 14-0. And then it looked like Elyria Catholic was going to capitalize in great field position again. They forced a 3 and out. They took over close to midfield, but they ended up turning the ball over on downs. Their defense answered the bell yet again as they were able to force a 3 and out, but then they fumbled the punt return, and that gave St. Vincent-St. Mary the ball at the EC 27-yard line. Looked like they were going to hold them to just a field goal attempt. The field goal was blocked, but a roughing the kicker penalty kept that drive alive. And just a couple of plays later, Rylan Hurley, a 7-yard touchdown pass to Janelle Baker to make it 14-7. And that's our score halfway through this one. Max, let's take a look at the first half stats.
Well, and it's going to be a pretty quick recap because Elyria Catholic, they ran double the plays essentially that St. Vincent-St. Mary did, and a lot of that, if not all of the damage being done on the ground. 25 carries as a team, 138 yards for 5.5 per rush, and it's led to some consistent drives just not able to finish off a few of them. And as for St. V, I believe they may have been not necessarily gifted, but they've earned more yards off of easy penalties than they put up in total offense, right around just under 30 yards. And most of that may have came on that last drive there, which was already pretty close to that red zone. So just averaging 1 yard a carry on the ground right now and only 14 yards through the air. So clearly when they come out of halftime, maybe we'll see a couple of adjustments, but it's kind of a known commodity at this point with the youth they have on offense.
About 7 minutes left in our halftime show, brought to you by Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance. We'll take a timeout, and when we come back, we will rate the dog and take a look at some of the other scores from across the area as well. Again, your score here at Dan Reeser Stadium at Elyria Catholic High School. Elyria Catholic 14, St. Vincent-St. Mary 7. It's our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. It's live, it's free, it's on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Putting the finishing touches on our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. If you have insurance questions, call Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. A few moments ago, we had our stats of today's game brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA. It's all about the numbers with Al Januzzi CPA. Lorain County's Four Horsemen at Dan Reeser Stadium at Elyria Catholic tonight. We're halfway through this one. The Panthers lead St. Vincent-St. Mary 14-7. Let's take a look at some other scores across the area as well. In the SWC, Avon Lake all over Elyria 21-0. Avon up only 7 on Berea Mid-Park 21-14. North Ridgeville leads Midview 14-0. Olmsted Falls getting all they can handle and then some from Amherst. Comets up 13-0 on the Bulldogs. In the LC8, Columbia 21, Brookside 7. Firelands on top of Clearview 6-0. Black River leading Keystone 15-0. That's got to be at least a little bit of a surprise to some people. Wellington and Oberlin got started a little bit late, 7:30 kick, so no score so far on that one. Lorain trailing Brunswick 14-12, and Norwalk leads Vermilion 7-6. And that's a Vermilion team that we'll have a chance to see next week when they take on Port Clinton. Well, Max, we'll revisit some of the keys to the game and see how they apply to the second half in this one. Elyria Catholic was up 14-0 until a couple of things really didn't go their way in the final few minutes of the game, and now they're only up by 7.
Yeah, the Panthers, I mean, they followed the game plan that we laid out and just going out and punching St. V in the mouth, establishing that ground game, and they did that for the most part. A few things to clean up, of course, but then for St. V, it took them almost to the end of the half to do it, but they found one of those shock plays and something other than the offense as the special teams hopped on that fumble, took advantage of that, and they may need another one or even two of those and something on defense as well just to continue to flip this game on its head and to also set up that young offense in a lot more favorable position. We've even seen them starting around the 40 midfield, and that still hasn't been enough. So if they can get in the opposing red zone or just about to start their drives, then that'll go a long way in helping them come back and complete the victory tonight.
Next week, Elyria Catholic takes on Lake Catholic. That's a 4-1 team followed by Holy Name. They're also 4-1. NDCL also 4-1, and the same can be said for the team they close out the season against in CVCA, Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy. So they have some really tough games left in the second half of the season. Something we haven't talked about yet. St. Vincent-St. Mary doesn't have a game scheduled for next week. They were supposed to take on Youngstown Ursuline, but of course they've canceled the rest of their season because of the hazing incidents, and that's got to put them in a pretty precarious position because they will have 2 weeks to get ready for Harvest Prep, a team that's 2-3. But with that scenario, you go into a game like this knowing you're probably not going to play again for a couple of weeks. I think that gives you a little extra something, and we'll see if that has any impact here in the second half.
Yeah, it lets you play with a little more abandonment and just maybe try a few things you normally wouldn't, and you know you've got a lot more rest coming up, so maybe we don't see as many subs. Some of these impact players get to stay on the field a little bit longer than normal. But, you know, it's weird how it works out as a pseudo bye week, so to speak. Obviously, we don't have those. There's very rare cases at the high school level. Some teams only schedule 2 or 3 non-conference and get a bye early in the season. But, yeah, just a very somewhat unprecedented situation, but definitely the right decisions made, everything related to that case.
I don't think anybody would debate that. I think at the high school level, you don't want that bye week, right? You put all that time and energy into those practices and getting ready, the preparation. You want to play all 10 games, man. So you certainly feel for the teams that had them on their schedule. But, like you said, you can be a bit more reckless, right, in the second half because you know you don't have a game for a couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see, again, if that has any impact on the way they play here in the second half. And St. Vincent-St. Mary will receive the second half kickoff. The opening snap of each half is brought to you by Janasco Insurance. The protection you need, the service you deserve. That's Janasco Insurance. We also want to remind you that when we are done, our post-game show is brought to you by Spitzer Auto World in Amherst. John Guzik, Paul Williams, Johnny G, David Q are back at the Radio Ranch to update you on what's happening all across Lorain County and the high school football scene. They've got final scores, interviews, and much, much more to bring to you. So make sure you tune into that on your radio dial at WOBL and WDLW. And you can also see it via the Facebook live stream as well. Ben Essenmacher will tee it up. He'll get his left foot into it. High end over end kick. Bounces once. Hurley retrieves it. And then he's going to flip this one left side. The ball is taken down the left hash. And it's taken past the 35-yard line. Off to the races. Past the 40. Down to the near sideline 30. He breaks the tackle. And he's going to go all the way for a touchdown. Jaden Pleasant with the kickoff return for a touchdown. And a pleasant start to this second half for St. Vincent-St. Mary.
You're absolutely right about that, partner. And, we hinted at it. They needed a couple plays outside of their offense, and they tried a little reverse play right there. Sometimes you see the teams fake that and keep going the way they were originally going, but right idea there to get in the hands of Pleasant. And he's one of the receivers. We may have to see him a little more in the second half here. Give him another shot to get his hands on the ball.
Yeah, it really felt like he found a second gear there. Pleasant, a junior, 6 feet, 155-pounder. After Rylan Hurley retrieved that kickoff, he flipped it to him and he reversed field. And he went close to 90 yards on that return. High snap, they put it down, extra point is on the way, and good. All of a sudden, we are deadlocked at 14 apiece after a 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Jaden Pleasant. Max will go ahead and keep this one here, because there's certainly a lot to break down. Felt like he ran about 400 yards in order to get to the end zone there. But you made the comment, teams a lot of times will fake that and get teams to bite. But Elyria Catholic, I think, still kind of saw it. Weren't able to get the right guys to break down and make tackles in open space. And now it just seems like Mr. Momentum has changed his address yet again.
Yeah, it was, I guess, somewhat tough there to keep their lanes after the reverse happened. And funny enough, Pleasant ended up back on the original side of the field where the return was headed once he crossed midfield. So just an outstanding job there by the special teams unit of the Irish. And we'll see if EC has something up their sleeve, if they've got a little bit of lightning here on this kickoff return.
Wouldn't expect them to change the philosophy much offensively because they've had some success with their ground game. Really, neither team has had to put the ball in the air a whole lot. And that's something I think we both kind of figured in this game. Caden Rogers tees it up at the 40-yard line. The return game has been a bit of a challenge for EC at times. Well, the way he has it lined up, looks like it's going to be an onside kick. It'll be exactly that. Takes a big bounce at the 40-yard line, and it doesn't go 10 yards. It goes out of bounds on the near side, close to the 48-yard line. And there were a couple of bodies probably a little too close for comfort there, Max.
Yeah, you read my body language. I mean, there's no reason to go anywhere near that football, and fortunately, it just goes out of bounds. So great field position now as a result. But, yeah, definitely. I'm sure I'm not the only person on this side of the stands that was shocked by that.
So they are going to take over right around the 45-yard line of St. Vincent-St. Mary. You know, a little bit of a gamble, but who could blame them, right? Trying to capitalize on a huge kickoff return, but now EC has a short field to work with. They're calling on this defense to try and make another big stop again. Jazir Terry grabs the snap. They hand off to Castillo. Had a big hole initially. He's able to keep his legs moving, pushes the pile up to about the 40-yard line. A 5-yard gain on first down.
And for being as small as he is, he runs with so much power, does Castillo. And he really drives those legs. I mean, I swear they never stop moving.
And they've used a couple of different packages in that backfield. This time, they have Trent Merrill lined up as a wing on the right side. Terry hands it off to Castillo again. He's able to get across the left edge. We have a flag thrown, but that came from way behind the play to our left. He picked up about 3 yards. They marked him down at the 37.
Yes, he bounced that one outside of where his pulling guard was setting up, and definitely, wow, they're going to rule that a face mask. Can't tell if that was where the tackle was or somewhere else in the play.
Well, Elyria Catholic was signaling for that. They thought that there should have been a penalty there. Jazir Terry was signaling for it. It was thrown from an official away from the play, but they got what they were looking for, and now it'll be first down and 10 from the 22-yard line. They call the number of Castillo again, trying to get around the right edge. He does that, gets inside the 15-yard line, and he bounces out of bounds near the 12.
So they run the same play, just go on the opposite side as Merrill as well as Kane and Reed just led the way. And instead of cutting it up, I mean, he just shows off those quick feet, bolts towards the sideline, almost moves the chains again. Yeah, it was very close.
Punishing ground game up the middle. They've got a little smash and churn along with some slash and burn in this game. Jazir Terry has his troops at the line again. They'll give to Castillo. Left side, Castillo works his way close to the goal line. He's close. Did he get in? It looks like he's a little bit short. Zion Castillo wiggled his way through the middle. Then he barreled over a defender, and he was knocked down at the 1-yard line. And we have an injured Fighting Irish down on the field. So we will have an injury timeout. We'll keep this one right here because Elyria Catholic is so close to the goal line. And now you're seeing EC take advantage of a situation where they had a very short field to work with, and again, didn't do anything too crazy here, Max, just sticking with what got them a 14-7 lead, and that's stick with that ground game and give the ball to Zion Castillo as he has handled most of the load for them on this drive.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, he had 14 carries, already 4 here on this opening drive for the Panthers in the third quarter, and now that's the gamble with the onside kick you might look back on if you're the Irish and regret, but obviously they were living in the moment of that momentum and felt somewhat confident in their defense getting a stop here.
So the injured player walking off, thankfully, under his own power towards the far sideline. And again, that ball could not be much closer to the goal line than it is. We saw a scenario like this a little bit earlier tonight when Jazir McLeod made his way into the end zone on a 1-yard touchdown rush in that jumbo package. And they've got McGillia in as a part of that very same jumbo package again. They ran him up under center where he took a quarterback sneak, essentially. They've got the wild card personnel on the field. And they will run McGillia back up under center again. There was some early movement, though. Somebody got a head start for Elyria Catholic. That'll cost them 5 yards.
And I almost wonder if it was McEllia because obviously he's a little out of position. He's normally a linebacker. He plays on the line of scrimmage. Right there, he looked like he chopped his feet before the snap came through, so maybe a little antsy there to get his second score of the night.
Inside of 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, we're tied at 14 apiece. Opening kickoff taken to the house by Jaden Pleasant. But EC knocking on the door as they have the ball just outside the 5-yard line. Wildcat formation again. Castillo takes the direct snap. Tries to work the middle. He was undercut at the 4-yard line, and he was able to get up to the 2.
And Reed right there did a good job filling the gap there between a couple of blockers. Haven't said his name too often tonight, but he's a senior we expect to see a little bit more of as the game goes on. So nice play to step up there and force second down and goal.
Second and goal from the 3 for Elyria Catholic. They make a shift here with the jumbo personnel coming out. Jazir Terry will come back in and get set to take the shotgun snap. He'll have Castillo with him in the backfield and 3 receivers at his disposal. Terry grabs the snap. They give to Castillo. Bounces to his right. He's able to get close just inside the 1-yard line, but he's short of the goal line, bringing up third down and goal.
We've seen it a couple times on this drive. They've used some pulling linemen. When you get this close to the goal line, it can be a little tough to try to do that as the backside defensive penetration can shoot it a lot quicker. It paid off a little bit that time as they get just that much closer.
Ball is lined up halfway between the 1-yard line and the goal line. So it's third and goal. Got maybe a foot and a half before they can try and punch it across the goal line. McGillia comes up under center on that quarterback sneak, and he's going to be able to take it across for the second time tonight. Touchdown, Panthers. Another 1-yard touchdown plunge, and this will put EC back in the driver's seat, leading 20-14 with 7:50 to play in the third quarter.
And I don't know, do we get a nickname for that? The Panther Push? I mean, they're just making that work no matter what. As long as everybody's in place procedurally, I mean, that play is almost unstoppable.
Essenmacher trying to make it a 7-point Elyria Catholic advantage if he can punch this one through. They'll send the snap back. Kohlmeyer puts the hold down. Extra point is on the way, and it is good. Catholic leading St. Vincent-St. Mary, 7:50 to go, third quarter on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Elyria Catholic leading 21-14. Moments ago, into their 1-yard touchdown rush, Jazir McGillia able to make his way into the end zone for the second time tonight. And it's a 7-point lead again for EC. Essenmacher will get his left foot into it. High end over end kick. Gets retrieved at about the 11-yard line by Hurley. Fakes the give this time. Keeps it himself. He'll run right side. Tripped up inside the 20-yard line. He was taken down by Amir Kayat. Another nice big play for him on special teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember that name, and that's how you make your impact in that all-important third phase of the game, and it's shown tonight how vital it is to make some big plays there. And good job by everybody staying home, not being tempted to follow what worked last time for the Irish.
We'll spot him down at the 19-yard line. So a long ways for this Fighting Irish offense to go. They've mixed it up at the quarterback spot, with those duties being handled by both Rylan Hurley and Will Adamson. It'll be Hurley to take the snap here. He grabs it, passes left side, caught by Nicholson in the flat. He breaks one tackle, gets to the sideline. He's off to the races. He runs out of bounds, but we do have a flag at the 35-yard line, and that's going to be a hold against St. Vincent-St. Mary.
Even despite that, how did he get out of there? It looked like they had him bottled up in the backfield there. He just keeps stringing it out. And somehow found the sideline where clearly he's got a good bit of burst out there. But
it sure looked like Trent Merrill had him. And he was able to escape the arms of Merrill. Then he got to the sideline, but it's all for naught as they are called for a hold, and the ball will be spotted at the 12. Penalties have certainly loomed large on both sides. Although I think you could make the argument that they've been a bit more detrimental to St. Vincent-St. Mary tonight.
Yeah, it's kept a few drives alive for EC, and we may still be tied otherwise.
Brandon Nicholson works off the right hip of Hurley. They'll send a man in motion. And this play is going to be bottled up in the backfield at the 10-yard line. Nicholson is dropped for a loss of 2.
I mean, it looked like 3 different guys could have gotten the ball there, and all 3 would have been tackled for a loss. Just a dominant job by the front line there of Elyria Catholic's defense.
Dominic Worthy, one of many in on that stop, and that front 4 has been outstanding all night long for Elyria Catholic.
It really has, and it's definitely the strength of that defense. Obviously, they've got a pretty solid linebacking unit as well, but up front, I mean, they together account for over 40 tackles for loss this season.
They have a long ways to go here on second down. Second down and 20, we've got whistles. And let's see here.
That the right guard being sent off, I believe.
You're right. Not sure if that's an equipment issue, but they've got to make a quick substitution. So a quick sub coming in for St. Vincent-St. Mary. It looks like Sal Elyria, who comes into the game. Back to pass. Hurley fires right side. The pass goes incomplete. Had a couple of guys in the area. Giovanni Vincent was one of those guys in the vicinity. And we have an injured player down in the field for St. Vincent-St. Mary again. We also had Travis Owens, who is close to the area where that ball landed. Tough to tell who exactly that was intended for. And Owens is okay. He's jogging off the field, but they may call for him to come off the field for a play here.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of those tonight where the balls kind of ended up between two different receivers and you know, playing a couple different quarterbacks, it can lead to the timing being off a little bit. And right there, they try to roll out Hurley to get him some extra time, but throwing on the run may have also affected where that throw ended up. But you got to do something to try to combat this pressure.
This is a situation where that front four can just pin their ears back on 3rd down and 20. Rylan Hurley's going to run it himself. Takes it up the middle, room to run. He's past the 20-yard line, breaks a tackle at the 25. Hurley's able to get to the far sideline, 50. Down the far sideline he goes, and he steps out of bounds at the 40 of Elyria Catholic on 3rd down and 20. A huge pickup for Rylan Hurley, and the drive is still alive for the Fighting Irish.
And I think that St. V coaching staff knew exactly what you did, that they were going to pin their ears back on defense, and they ran a draw right into it. And he was able to come out and not only get past them, but the 2nd and 3rd level.
Boy, terrific speed as soon as he got to that 2nd level. Pretty elusive, getting past the 25-yard line, and then he was off to the races. Hurley facing pressure, fires left side. The pass falls incomplete. Looked like Joey Schill on the coverage. We have a flag, though, about 15 yards away from where that play completed.
The shocking part about that is Amari Lynn got in there so quick. I don't even know that the contact must have happened very early in the route, because I don't even think Hurley had time to look to wherever that happened. So, tough break.
Pass interference against Elyria Catholic, and you could hear it from some of the fans a few rows down below us. They said, how can you throw a flag on that far away?
Yeah, I got to imagine maybe off the receiver's release, some illegal contact, or very early before they even made their break. So if you're St. V, you got to take advantage of it here now.
They bring Will Adamson back into the game to take this snap. They set a man in motion. They'll flip it to the man in motion, Vincent, and Vincent is ripped down in the backfield. Giovanni Vincent just couldn't turn the corner, and another real nice job by the right side of that Elyria Catholic defensive line containing that play.
And Dominic Worthy coming off the bench that time to make that impact play. And the coaches will notice plays like that, and as the season goes on, you can become a pretty important rotational piece.
Yeah, and he's definitely been that for them this year. They've got a few guys they like to rotate in that aren't necessarily a part of the starting lineup. But that front four is pretty darn deep. 2nd down and 16. Hurley back in to take this snap. Pocket collapsing quickly. Rolls to his right. Throws right. The pass is knocked away. Incomplete. Jazeer Terry said, no, sir.
And with all the energy that he's had to expend on offense, I don't know how he closed out in that short window to break up that pass that otherwise looked pretty open here. It's the perfect comeback route, but Travis Owens not able to get to it first.
More laundry on the field. It looks like this is going on St. Vincent-St. Mary because they're talking to Elyria Catholic head coach Chase Ferris. It is a personal foul and an illegal blindside block. So that goes on St. Vincent-St. Mary, and that's going to make this a really interesting 3rd down situation for the Fighting Irish.
And a tough spot there for the St. Vincent-St. Mary offensive line, because the guy they did that to, Trent Merrill, he's one of the most ferocious pass rushers in this county. So even if you just try to wall him off there after he originally went past your quarterback, Hurley, you got to stay on him. But it's just, you see some of the coaches looking for an explanation from that St. V sideline. Just a tough break.
Inside of 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, 21-14, Elyria Catholic with the lead. It's 3rd down and 30. They did convert on 3rd down and 20 earlier on the drive. Hurley running for his life. He gets hit and dropped at the 45-yard line.
Guess who?
Jazeer McLeah in there again.
He's had his fingerprints all over this game on both sides of the ball. And that one, I mean, it puts the Irish back in their own territory now.
Jazeer McIllia, and I apologize to that young man in advance. I've said his last name 4 or 5 different times throughout the night, but he has had a profound impact on this game on both sides of the ball. That's his 2nd sack. He's got 2 trips to the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you're Ryan Hurley, what are you supposed to do? I mean, he checked out both of his reads downfield, nobody open. There's nowhere to go.
It's officially 3rd and 36. They run that draw again. This time, Elyria Catholic is not fooled. Trent Merrill amongst a few others there to take him down to the 48 of EC. But they will be well shy of a first down.
Yeah, and that's all you can really do there. Try to maintain possession and then let your punt unit possibly back up EC. And that's where we've seen the St. V offense get success, is when their defense has been able to help them out, or on special teams, setting them up with good field position.
They'll get the punt away. Mikey Bates and company will back away as that will bounce to about the 23-yard line. And now with 3:18 to play, you figure as much success as they had with that ground game, they'd probably get right back to that. Don't have that same short field to work with, but we can sit here and talk about how they should get back to grinding it out with that running game. You go back to the beginning of the game, they had a hard time getting on track with that ground game.
Yeah, they really couldn't go north and south, and that's where we've seen Zion Castillo and that offensive line really have their bread and butter. Tonight they've been having to get a little more creative, a lot more stretch plays, a lot of different formations to line up out of, and also just maybe an extra guy in the backfield with whoever's at quarterback and Castillo. So I have to imagine we'll see them continue to throw different looks at the Irish defense.
This drive begins at their own 22-yard line. They'll hand it off to Castillo, and he's wrestled down at about the 25, so he picks up a couple yards on first down.
And if you're the Panthers here nursing this 7-point lead, you at minimum want to get to the fourth quarter and still try to be on offense. As obviously we haven't seen much out of the St. Vincent-St. Mary offense, but as they proved last drive, they can break off a play here or there and could be the difference in a tight game like this.
2nd down and 7 for the Panthers. They give to Castillo again. Patient run. He's able to get to that second level, gets close to first down yardage. They'll spot him down at about the 32. Awfully close. And they will tell that chain gang to move forward 10 yards.
Yeah, patient, the perfect word there, as he's letting these blockers set up in front of him. And with a lot more defenders in the box, it can be a riskier play, but with a guy with his talent, it pays off more times than not.
They give it to Castillo again, but this play is blown up in the backfield. Ball came loose at the last moment, but the officials whistled it dead. There was pressure coming from Brandon Nicholson on the right side of the formation. He and a couple of others got in there quickly to stop that play dead in its tracks.
Yeah, Nicholson, Clayton, and like you said, a few other guys on the Irish defenses. Now they're starting to read a few more of those pulls. They're getting eyes on the guards and whoever's at wingback, and they're getting their shots in the backfield now.
An injured player down in the field for St. Vincent-St. Mary. That's Andrew Lothar, a sophomore lineman at 6'2", 210. And I tell you what, Max, I mean, they've certainly taken their lumps the last couple of years, or season and a half, I guess, to be more exact. You get the impression that if they can keep this group together, these freshmen and these sophomores, this could be a real tough team in the next couple of years.
Yeah, if they can continue to build and kind of a linear progression, so to speak. I mean, obviously their schedule's never going to be easy on them, but in these years leading up to when they're juniors and seniors, when they reach that upperclassman status, it's only going to strengthen you. And even when you get a few chances to overcome adversity when you're youngsters, I mean, it goes a long way in just inspiring confidence.
Second down and 11. Terry running left side. Gets a big block to turn the corner, but he's only able to get to about the line of scrimmage. He got too close to the 31. It'll be third down. It'll still a long ways to go for EC.
Yeah, and you mentioned the block. I mean, Nicholson, he took the inside-out route. Normally when you're out at corner, coaches want you to go outside and squeeze in, but he still has the speed and athleticism to catch up to a guy like Jazir Terry. That's an impressive play on defense there to force a 3rd and long now.
Third quarter clock inside of 2 minutes at $1:52. They've got to get just past the 42-yard line. They'll keep it, and the pass is thrown left side. Terry had nobody home, and intentional grounding will be the call. That looked like a busted play from the get-go. They had Corey Armelin coming in motion, and they just don't necessarily know that they were sure what they wanted to do with that. Looked like maybe an RPO there. They wanted to give it to Armelin. He decided to pull it back, Terry did, and then had no choice but to just throw it away.
Yeah, and he was still stuck in the pocket there as he had looked like Pytash closing in on him, and maybe there you just kind of fall down or something. But when you have some guys that aren't typically quarterbacks and the intangible things like that don't involve just throwing or handing off or tucking it, it's the minor things right there that they may not always remember. So now you're backed up even further, and the Irish have a great chance for some solid field position here.
Here's Jaden Pleasant out to receive this punt. Send it back to Connor Lattee. Pulls that high snap down, gets the kick away. It'll bounce to the 47. Pleasant picks it up on one hop. Takes it past the 50. Trying to make a few men miss in the process. Takes a pretty big pop at the end of the play at the 47. So pretty good field position after Jacob Unek made the stop.
Well, that stood out even with some of the mistakes that we've seen from the special teams units of EC. There's a lot of effort, especially when they're going down and covering. You can tell guys are flying around, and they're trying to put some stuff on tape or maybe an extra snap or two on offense or defense.
This drive begins at the EC 47-yard line. They picked up a little something on that last drive when they were situated third down and 20, and they still picked it up. Ended up getting about 40 yards on that play, but that drive essentially stalled after a big sack on third down.
And you got to hope it's those big plays don't only come when they're kind of off schedule or they're so far out behind the chains that they catch EC off guard. You got to find something here early.
It's a keeper. Hurley's got some room to run. Redirects back inside and tackled at the 36-yard line for a first down. EC bit on the fake to Duke Clayton, and that gave Hurley just enough room to work his way through the middle and pick up a first down.
And he's been asked to do a lot in all 3 phases. It looks like he has a teammate or two trying to help stretch out a leg maybe.
Cramping isn't necessarily something that you deal with this time of year. It does linger. And it was warm earlier today. You know what? It wasn't just warm. It was pretty humid earlier today, too.
I may or may not have broke a sweat heading up here to the press box.
In your defense, when we get up here for pregame, that sun is staring you right in the face, and it doesn't really go away until maybe halfway through that first quarter. So it does rise the mercury just a little bit, right? And for St. Vincent-St. Mary, boy, they've had a few guys go down throughout the course of the season. And they've had a lot of guys dinged up tonight. And unfortunately for them, that's Hurley, who is kind of hopping off the field and unfortunately not able to put a whole lot of pressure on that right foot.
So now, out of need, essentially, I got to imagine Will Adamson will get most of the snaps here in the meantime. And they've been more likely to pass when he's been in the ball game, so gotta wonder how they'll handle this here in a prime spot to go get points.
Campbell, the tailback, he'll be off the right hip of Will Adamson. 3 receivers to his left. He's got 1 lined up near side of the right. On 1st down and 10. Adamson immediately facing pressure, dumps it to his right out of bounds. He had Campbell in the area, but he overshot him. And the incompletion means 2nd down and 10 is upcoming.
Yeah, fortunately for Adamson, most of, if not all of his receivers in the route tree there were on the left side of the field. And the way that the pass rush was established, he had no choice but to try to roll right, and only his running back remained.
Well, we've been talking about it throughout the night. You know, if you're going to tie this thing up now, you need to be more than just a one-dimensional team offensively. They've had some success running the ball to some degree. But if you can't find anything in that passing game, it's going to be really tough to get back on track. EC setting some extra pressure. Adamson gets sacked at the 42-yard line. It's Kylan Connors who wraps him up and tears him down.
And what looked like a decent pocket to step up into was closed off by Connor very quickly. And it brings up now the all-important 3rd and long and the pass rushing down. And now it doesn't appear Ryan Hurley, he's not going to be ready to come back in yet. So this against a pocket passer who hasn't shown much of an ability to scramble, this is a very scary spot to be in if you're the Irish.
3rd down and 16 at the Elyria Catholic 42-yard line. We brought this up before, but this is usually a spot where that front 4 is kind of licking their chops. They over-pursued a bit the last time we said that, but we'll see what they have in store for us here. Adamson rolling out to the left now. Surveying the field, his pass falls incomplete on the far side, trying to get that to Travis Owens.
Yeah, they, right off the snap, try to roll out to the wide side of the field, buy him some space, but they actually had 2 of their better pass rushers on the same side. Trent Merrill, Kylan Connors both went to the left side of that offensive line. And as soon as Merrill saw a pass, he got off of his guard, knew he could beat him to the point of attack, and forced a much quicker throw.
Takes us to the end of the 3rd quarter. 3 down, 1 to go. Elyria Catholic 21, St. Vincent-St. Mary 14 on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Just about to start the 4th quarter. Elyria Catholic leading St. Vincent-St. Mary 21-14. And on to punt this one away is Quinn Hurley, a freshman. In case you're just joining us, it's Rylan Hurley who handles a lot of the duties, including the punting duties for St. Vincent-St. Mary, but he hobbled off the field a few plays ago. Hurley will get this punt off. Pretty good-looking punt as well. Bounces inside the 15-yard line. And then it'll actually take a nice little bounce back to about the 13, maybe the 14-yard line. A nice little English on that punt from Hurley.
Yeah, perfect placement on it. And, I mean, the 2nd and 3rd phase, defense and special teams continues to keep the Irish in this game and give them a fighting chance here. We start the 4th quarter of play.
If only I could get my wedge shots to spin like that.
Oh. Tell me.
A secret I've never been able to figure out. Ben Essenmacher will come out as the quarterback here with Zion Castillo with him in the backfield. And they've got 4 receivers in the formation as well. They're crowding the line, the Fighting Irish are. The give will go to Castillo. Castillo will not be denied as he gets through that first level, and he takes it up to about the 18-yard line. A 5-yard gain on 1st down.
I mean, they walked up that pressure somewhat early before the snap, and I mean, they still ran just about right into it. The fact that they even gained any yards, very impressive. The fact they fought for 6 at the end of that, I mean, you'll take that every time against 8 or 9 guys up there.
I think the premise here is pretty simple. Work that running game. Take some time off the clock. And And here in this second half, they were able to do just that when they were working with a short field. They go with that exact same plan of attack. Castillo was able to pick up first down yardage as he gets to the 24-yard line.
Yeah, now as the game has gone on, we've seen a little bit, or actually, check that. For the entire game, we've seen a lot of aggressiveness up front by that offensive line. They continue to show it here in the second half, and that's why they're comfortable giving the ball to Castillo right there for the 25th time.
It's a formula that's worked during this winning streak of theirs. No surprise here, they go to Castillo, but this time he's corralled and dropped. There were a couple of different Fighting Irish in on that stop. One of them, Ryan Pytash, 6'2", 210-pound freshman. And the other was Arthur Coleman.
As we mentioned, the aggressiveness of that offensive line, one appears to be getting up a little bit slower. Tough to tell if they'll take him out of the game or not.
It's Amari Lind, who came away a little slow from the pile. So they will spot the ball at the 24, it looks like. No, actually, I take that back. They've got the ball lined up halfway between the 23 and the 24, so it's a loss of a half a yard. Split the difference and call it second down and 10 and a half. And now we've got a whistle. And this is going against Elyria Catholic. It'll cost them 5 yards.
So you definitely want to have those ironed out here in this all-important drive. And they're going to be asking a lot of Castillo here, who we already mentioned he's getting close to 30 carries on the night with still 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Terry takes the snap, pitches left side of Castillo, makes a man miss. He gets down that far sideline, wiggles his way out of another tackle, and then he steps out of bounds inside St. Vincent-St. Mary territory. Another big chunk for Castillo, and it's a first down for the Panthers.
Well, it's like he directly answered and said, I've got 25 more carries in me. I mean, I didn't get to see him up close in week 4 there, so just a heck of a run there on a quick pitch.
32 yards, you just heard. A monster pickup, and now they're on the Fighting Irish side of the field at the 49-yard line. Terry with the option pitch right side of Castillo. Castillo gets a big block and he turns the corner. He's able to get inside the 40-yard line, and where he turned that corner, it looked like he may have had a little bit of help. A flag at the 49 of EC. It looks like this is coming back.
So hitting the perimeter work to the short side of the field last time, try to go wide, but obviously that meant some of these guys had to hold their blocks a little bit longer.
There were actually 2 fouls on the play, both against EC. One of them was declined. So now EC will operate at their own 41-yard line after that penalty. It's first down and 20 for the Panthers. Terry will pitch it left side to Mikey Bates. He fumbled it initially, but he hung on to it, and then he hung on for dear life as he was wrestled to the turf by Clayton.
Yeah, and he was forced to kind of banana that out a little bit further into the backfield than normal was Bates, because there was a guy right off the edge for St. V, so very lucky to corral that one.
Great job, great pursuit by Duke Clayton. Sometimes defensively, you go for the ball instead of the player, but he went for the player, and he was able to get a huge tackle for a loss, because now EC is back at their own 33-yard line. They've taken a lot of time off the clock. Essenmacher rolling out near side to the right. Looking down the field. He's going to dump it across. Merrill had it and then dropped it at the 44-yard line. Geez, where he threw that, Max, he was awfully close to stepping across the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, at first I was looking to see if there were any linemen leaking downfield. They all did a pretty good job staying within that 2 to 3 yard line, but yeah, right there, Essenmacher, who hasn't had many throws to do tonight, so maybe feeling a little out of sorts. They're trying to warm the arm up.
They'll bring Jazir Terry back into the game now to take this snap on 3rd down and 28. That stopped the clock with 8:50 to go. And again, they have to go a long ways. They've got to get inside the St. Vincent-St. Mary 39-yard line for a fresh set of downs. Nobody in the backfield with Terry. He drops back. Pressure coming as the pocket collapses. Terry able to avoid that first wave of pressure. Then he gets tackled at the 40-yard line. So he'll end up getting about 7 yards on that scramble. Well short of a first down.
And the Irish just able to obviously just drop several guys past the midfield line, and that didn't allow any of those deeper routes to open up at all. So just do what you can to help your defense out there.
Johnny Meltel came in to assist in the tackle at the end of that play. Connor Latif will get the punt off. End over end. Bounces once, and that's going to get behind Jaden Pleasant, and then it'll be picked up. It's scooped up inside the 15-yard line and dropped right around the 10. Mike Frazier just couldn't get that first wave to miss. Trent Merrill was there to tackle him. Well, I think the idea there was pretty clear. They wanted to make sure that Pleasant was able to retrieve that, but he kind of took a step back. That bounced over his head. And Frazier tried making something of that play, but unfortunately that's going to cost him a lot of yardage.
Yeah, it seemed like Pleasant, even when it was rolling on the ground, was hesitant to pick it up, and you got to try to save as many yards as you can. That's what Frazier was attempting to do, as you alluded to, but tough spot here now for this Irish offense.
Well, they're asking this offense to do something that they just haven't been able to do throughout the night, and that's put a nice, long, sustained drive together. Adamson will fire left side. Pass caught by Vincent. He's out past the 20 and tackled at the 23 with some more laundry on the field.
And it appears that obviously the back judge there throwing it, so maybe one of the other receivers blocking a little too early or something of that nature. 'Cause it didn't appear like Vincent was the one getting himself open with a shove or anything, but maybe somebody else out near him trying to get separation extended their arms.
It is offensive pass interference going against St. Vincent-St. Mary, and now they have to send this snap back from their own 5-yard line. And throughout the game, they've done some things that you expect a young team to do. But this is how you find out whether you've grown, or how much you've grown, rather, in week 6. Can you put something together on this drive here with the time working against you? Adamson fires across the middle. The pass is caught right around the 20-yard line. It's taken up to about the 21. More laundry on the field. Travis Owens, the sophomore, caught it. Whew.
And he had to absorb a hit from Mikey Bates, somehow even spun out of it for a moment. So just a very impressive play to hang on to that one, and potential hit on a defenseless player, if I had to guess.
It's a personal foul going against DC. Well, now they're completing passes, even though the first one was negated because of a penalty. So they picked up a couple of completions, and if my memory serves me correctly, that's the first time they've completed passes consecutively all night long.
Yeah, and what stands out is it's similar routes to what they were running earlier, just a few more accurate throws at this point.
We've got a whistle, and that's going to be another procedure penalty against St. Vincent-St. Mary.
There's been a lot of that tonight. It's a very cliche phrase, but they've been able to get a step or two forward, and unfortunately, more times than not, they've had to take a few back.
Yeah, and now these penalties are really starting to add up, because once you find something in that passing game, it's very rhythmic, and that can very easily be disrupted with a penalty. They've had a couple of big ones on this drive, and now you're inside of 7 minutes. There's time left. They've got all 3 timeouts left, but you're pushing yourself back. They've done that a couple of times over the last 4 plays.
Yeah, when you have a guy who hasn't taken too many snaps, it might get in his head, 1st and 15 versus 1st and 10.
They'll fire across the middle, incomplete. They were trying to call the number of Travis Owens one more time, and it looked like maybe he had a step on his defender, but Max, it also looked like he wasn't really expecting the pass.
Yeah, he had a guy underneath of him and two more heading towards midfield were there to possibly stop him. And I don't know, maybe on a 1st and 15 like that, they're trying to look to the perimeter as they had a couple guys on some go routes, but clearly the pressure by that defensive front, it's not allowing you to really look at those for too long anyway.
2nd and 15 now. Adamson gets rid of it quickly to his right. Pass is caught just outside the numbers on the right side at the 36. Well, they call the number of Travis Owens for a 3rd straight time.
And he's getting ready to overtake what he had coming into this game. 3 catches through the first 5 weeks and 2 on this drive alone.
3rd down and 11. And this is where that front four for the Panthers has really excelled here tonight. Adamson looks to his right, throws down the field. The pass falls incomplete. His intended target, Dominic Scott, fell down at the end of the play. They were trying to sell an interference penalty, but doesn't look like they're going to get one. And the incompletion sets up 4th down.
Well, and you like the somewhat size advantage that you have over there with Scott. And like you said, I think on that one, Adamson may have let the ball go before he was even looking back for it, and that maybe led to him not being able to sell the interference as much as they would have liked.
Quinn Hurley being called on to get this punt away, but now we've got whistles and a timeout called by Elyria Catholic. With 6:01 to play in the 4th quarter, Elyria Catholic leads St. Vincent-St. Mary 21-14. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Punting situation coming up here on 4th down and 11 for St. Vincent-St. Mary. They trail 21-14 to Elyria Catholic. Quinn Hurley ready to punt it away. Jules Martin and Mikey Bates both back to receive it. High kick, deep kick, end over end. It'll be retrieved by Martin at about the 31-yard line, and he is dragged down moments after retrieving that punt. So it doesn't net anything on the return, but EC will have it at their own 31-yard line. They were forced to punt on their last drive, but Max, it was a drive where they chewed up quite a bit of clock.
Yeah, they opened the 4th quarter with the ball and ended up giving it back with around 8 minutes, just under 8 minutes to go. So if you do that again, even if you don't end in a scoring drive, it's going to force the Irish into a 2-minute drill. And well, with the picture that's been painted so far tonight, you know that the Irish don't want that.
Jazir Terry working with Zion Castillo off his right hip. They send a man in motion with somebody moved early. And EC will march backwards 5 yards.
Yeah, when you got to wait on those motions, maybe you're expecting the clap or the cadence a little bit sooner. And I think some of those offensive linemen, they just got a little anxious.
They sent Corey Armelin in motion. And that's caused a little confusion on the misdirection. Not that they've called that number a ton here tonight, but they've had some success where they've called on it a couple of times. They send Armelin in motion. They'll fake the give to him. It'll be kept by Terry, and he's tackled back at the 26-yard line.
And early on in the game, he provided quite a bit of a change of pace for their offense. But as of late here in the second half, outside of the 28-yard run he was able to get, it's been tough sledding for him.
St. Vincent-St. Mary does have all 3 timeouts left. It's 2nd down and 15. A no gainer on that last play. They'll give to Castillo. Castillo's able to push the pile up to the 30. A gain of about 4. And a 3rd and long scenario coming up. When the game is over, we've got stats of the game, the drive of the game, the player of the game, and much more to bring to you on our post-game show. Not a popular announcement a couple of moments ago with the Guardians trailing Texas 7-2. Crunch time, the final series of the regular season. Jazir Terry will take the snap, and he rolls out to his left. Trying to turn the corner, he does just that. He's able to work his way out of bounds on the far side. He got close to the 42, and that will be enough for a first down.
And that gain right there takes him up over 80 yards on the night. So, obviously the bell cow is Zion Castillo, but Terry doing just enough to take some pressure off of him and also put more pressure on the St. Vincent-St. Mary defense here late in the 4th.
Clock stops at 4:28 because he stepped out. We'll keep the same personnel on the field here. Jazir Terry has handled most of the quarterbacking duties tonight. It'll be a keeper, and he's able to pick up maybe a yard on that after he lowered his shoulder and ran up the field around that right hash, getting to the 44-yard line.
Yeah, that's a tough way to end a run. You just know you've got a guy in pursuit of you, 2 more waiting for you, and you just got to provide some oomph right there, and he does just that to not only hang on the ball, but obviously keep the clock moving. And this feels like what could be a defining drive for this offense here in a 4-minute situation, and you don't want to give the ball back, not even leave anything up to chance for that St. V offense.
The St. V front 4 has been pretty impressive in this game. They'll pitch it left side. They go to Castillo. Castillo trying to get by Clayton, but Clayton slows him down, and he will not let him turn the corner. Tackled back at the 40-yard line, but there is a flag back around the 45, way away from where that play ended.
There's a mini conference of some of the officials right now. Trying to clear up what it is.
So hold against Elyria Catholic, and it's going to be declined. And it makes total sense because the end result was about a 4-yard loss. And now you're looking at 3rd down, and timeout has been called by St. Vincent-St. Mary with 3:33 to play in the final quarter. So you get to this point, Max, at 3rd down and 9. You'd like to think maybe you keep the ball on the ground, force them to burn another timeout because you've had some success getting big chunks on the ground. Just feels like putting it in the air is an unnecessary risk.
Yeah, it'd be a very dangerous play to do that, and there's a lot more, obviously, that can go wrong. 2 out of the 3 are bad. I can't remember who said that, but when you put the ball in the air. But, in this kind of situation, just doing what you can to keep everything in front of you, but also you got to be careful because if Jazir Terry does remain in at quarterback, he's shown he can scramble around and kind of slip his way through some cracks there in the defense. And I'm willing to bet if they even get close to around midfield, even if they don't get the first down, they could be bullish on leaving the offense on the field there to complete this game and finish it off.
And I think the other thing that comes into the equation here, too, you've relied on your defense all night. They've answered the bell. They've only allowed 1 score in this game, and that happened with a short field. Armelin goes in motion. They fake, they give to him. And now we've got a whistle that looks like somebody moved a bit early or was lined up incorrectly. So a false start at Elyria Catholic, and that will make what was already going to be a difficult 3rd down situation all the more difficult.
Well, I was excited to see Marcus Reed on Jazir Terry in the open field right there. I mean, that very well could have decided the game if there was no penalty to stop that play.
They'll send this snap back from the 35-yard line with the clock stopped at 3:33. St. Vincent-St. Mary with 2 timeouts left. EC with a couple as well. Long ways to go here on 3rd down. This time they do hand it off to Armelin. Armelin able to get up to the 35-yard line. Bounces off a defender. Gets to the 45. Spins off another. He's still going. Armelin's off to the races down the right hash. He's going to go all the way for the touchdown. Smash and burn and slash and churn on a 60-yard dash to the end zone. And Elyria Catholic with a 27-14 lead.
Pulled the rabbit out of the hat on that one. How did he get out of there? I thought for sure running into his own teammate, that was going to end the play. You get down, do what you can to stay in bounds. Instead, he cuts back, finds his way to the end zone. Incredible effort there. That time by Corey Armelin.
He broke about 3 or 4 tackles. And the spin move right around the 50-yard line cut him loose. And what feels like is the proverbial nail in the coffin tonight. Essenmacher's extra point is good. 28-14, Elyria Catholic with 3:17 to play in the 4th quarter on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. It was 3rd and very long for Elyria Catholic, but Corey Armelin able to dash 65 yards to pay dirt to make it 28-14. EC now leading St. Vincent-St. Mary with 3:17 to play here in the 4th quarter. Ben Essenmacher ready to kick it off. Gets his left foot into it. Squibs one down the right hash. That's going to scoot all the way to the 10-yard line. Picked up by Jaden Pleasant. Pleasant on the return crosses the 25-yard line, and he's tackled by Mikey Bates near the 29.
Well, he didn't get to create as much magic as he did earlier in the game, but still sets him up. Okay field position, but it's going to be really tough to regroup and get it back out there and respond to a play that, man, just didn't, it seemed like you had it wrapped up and you were going to get the ball back a few minutes ago. Instead, you're facing that 2-score deficit. It's a lot of pressure on that Irish offense now.
Yeah, and this just isn't the kind of offense that's really designed to strike quickly. But they're going to have to do that with only 3 minutes and 9 seconds left. And here comes Rylan Hurley back into the game. Rolling out to his left, facing pressure, going to the far side, and he dumps it away to the right, incomplete. He did have a receiver in the area. He was trying to complete that to Dominic Scott, but the pass fell incomplete.
I mean, the fact that he's even back out here, it's very impressive and a very lot of guts to retake the field right now at this point. And we'll see how much of the scrambling is still in his arsenal here, as we are essentially going to probably see a 2-minute drill if I had to guess.
He was able to change and shift a couple of times on that particular play. See if the mobility is affected by the injury, which took him off the field a few moments ago. They'll hand it off to Nicholson. He tries the middle, but just doesn't have a lot of room to operate. They'll whistle that play dead at the 31 after a gain of just a yard.
Obviously, that's one where maybe you try to catch him off guard, but Dominic Worthy in the middle there snuffed it out pretty quickly. And now that we're seeing a couple of fresh bodies come in and for that Panther front, and I mean, it's already scary enough with the original 4 they have.
2.5 minutes to go. We've seen crazier things happen, but it would take something special from this St. Vincent-St. Mary offense. Hurley facing pressure, dumps it across the middle, incomplete. Well, the way that rush was coming at him, Max, it was almost as if they were trying to set up a screen. Like, that's how quickly they got in there.
You would have thought it. I mean, Travis Owens was the closest one to the line of scrimmage, but even he was still around 7 yards downfield. It looked like if he had time, Janeel Baker was pretty open right around the first down marker. So, but I believe that time, once again, Jazir McLeod, I mean, he just closed right through the A-gap that time.
4th down and 9, and in this scenario, clearly have to keep the offense on the field. It'll be a keeper. Hurley takes it past the 35. He's got first down yardage, almost lost the ball, stays on his feet, took a huge pop at the end of the play going down at the Elyria Catholic 44. What a run by Rylan Hurley.
And that's just using everything he has left in the tank right now, just trying to fight to keep his team alive here as we hit the 2-minute mark in the fourth quarter.
Jazir McGillia has his footprint all over this game. He was the one that delivered the boom at the very end of that play to Rylan Hurley.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great sign of pursuit there by the defensive lineman.
Well, Hurley's right back in the game, fires it across the middle, incomplete behind his intended target. By Hurley, channeling his inner Mick Foley here. Just takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
And that's why, obviously, Coach Grant talks so highly of him before the game and what he brings to this team here.
You got to love the fight of St. Vincent-St. Mary. Just not laying down. 1:39 to play in this one, trailing 28-14. 4-receiver look for Hurley. Pressure coming at him immediately, steps away from it, and he's tackled at the 43-yard line, picked up maybe a yard at that on that play after Kylan Connors got to him.
Yeah, I mean, that took him ducking out of the way of Amari Lind almost immediately. I mean, even then, those pass rushers, they can adjust pretty quickly, and that's the advantage of maybe having a couple guys that are on the smaller side, like Kylan Connors, Trent Merrill. They can change field really quickly, and it showed right there.
Timeout called by St. Vincent-St. Mary. They only have one to work with. $1:21 left in this one. And what a game this has turned out to be. Sometimes you have to look beyond the wins and the losses, right? Coming into the contest, there's a reason they play these things on Friday nights. They figured last year's game was kind of close. This one could be. Elyria Catholic came in with all the momentum, having won their last two. And while St. Vincent-St. Mary played a little bit better last week, 0-5 is 0-5. Tough to look past that. But I think they've played a bit better than that record might indicate.
Yeah, they've been able to take some of the blows early on that Elyria Catholic dealt and get back into what was a tie ball game at one point. We just saw Elyria Catholic clean a few things up, play a little bit of a smoother second half, and it's been tough for them to keep up here for a full 4 quarters.
Hurley will keep it again, stays on his feet, races down the middle of the field and picks up another first down before Connor Latte got to him at the 29.
Yeah, and I don't know how he's still continuing to do it. I mean, he looks as fresh as he did in the first quarter as he's almost to the century mark on the ground.
Well, the Fighting Irish will burn their final timeout with $1:14 to play in this one. This was a drive that started back at their own 30-yard line. Looked like it was dead to rights on 4th down and long, and then Hurley took matters into his own hands with a big quarterback scramble. And there's still some life left. Now they're out of timeouts.
And we did already see them attempt an onside kick once, so obviously still got to finish things here on this drive, but we know their kicker had one, maybe get one out of his system as it didn't go the 10 yards, and you can maybe make an adjustment there. So with over a minute, definitely still some time to work with.
Well, if Elyria Catholic's able to hang on and win, they would go to 3-3, and then staring down the gauntlet of a very difficult 4-week stretch to finish up the season, although 3 of those games are here at home. As a matter of fact, the next 3 are at home. Hurley facing pressure, throws across the middle, incomplete. Amari Lind was hot on his trail, and that's kind of been the case all game long, Max. There has just been pressure in his face from that opening snap.
Yeah, despite his size, just over 250, I mean, it looks like the offensive linemen are stuck in quicksand when they're going against him and a few of these other guys. They pair the size with some quick moves and some violent hand movements as well.
Coach Grant had mentioned, look, we've faced some really good competition this year. When you look at our schedule, but he really believed that Elyria Catholic was the toughest and most physical up front of all the teams that they had faced or were scheduled to face. Pass goes right side of Vincent. He takes a pop by Martin at the end of the play, and the pass goes incomplete.
Yeah, I think that summed it up while you were saying it. I mean, even the defensive backs and guys are laying the wood.
Well, and again, we could sit here and talk about a play like that where a quarterback might be hanging his receiver out to dry. Look, he had to let that loose very quickly, because if he didn't, he'd be stuck in the backfield trying to get away from 4 different defensive linemen. Cannot say enough good things about this EC front four. Third down and 10. Hurley going to air this one out deep down the near side. The pass is knocked away, incomplete. Mikey Bates on the denial was able to bat that away from Dominic Scott, setting up 4th down.
That's really only the second or third time we've seen one of those 50-50 balls and given their guy a chance to go get it or maybe get a PI, but both times, Elyria Catholic, they've remained stout back there, and they haven't really fallen asleep when they easily could have, defending so many runs. They've been doing a good job maintaining their coverage downfield.
Last shot at it here for St. Vincent-St. Mary, down 28-14 with just over a minute to play in the 4th quarter. It'll be 4th down and 10 at the EC 29-yard line. EC will rush 4. Hurley's in trouble. He gets sacked again back at the 40-yard line. And who else? Jazir McIllia with the sack at the 40-yard line. We mentioned his fingerprints are all over this one for Elyria Catholic, and that sack seals the deal.
I mean, I believe I saw Amari Lynn come out of the game. I was trying to spot who came in for him, and I think it was McIllia. And I confirm with Edwin over here, 3 sacks on the night for him. Just an incredible performance by this youngster.
If we can somehow get him on that post-game show brought to you by Spitzer Auto World in Amherst with John Guzik, we can promise that young man that we'll give him plenty of time to tell us how to correctly say his last name.
That's right.
He was not on the roster, so we apologize for that. That's one of the reasons why we haven't been able to get that last name hammered down. EC's in victory formation, and I believe they may only have to do this one more time before they can officially put this one in the books and score their 3rd straight win of the season after beginning the year 0-3.
Well, and you talked about the toughness that they bring and obviously what they have in the trenches. That can go a long way in this tough stretch they have coming up. I mean, guys like that, game wreckers that other teams really can't account for one-on-one, can go a long way in tilting some results.
Well, that'll bring the final few seconds off the clock. 28-14, the final score in this one. Elyria Catholic a winner over St. Vincent-St. Mary. The Fighting Irish go to 0-6. Elyria Catholic now 3-3 on the season. We'll step aside and take a timeout. We'll come back here in just a moment to wrap this one up for you on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. final score here tonight, Elyria Catholic 28, St. Vincent-St. Mary 14. What a game to you on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. Live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. He's Max Drummond. I'm Andy Bolbarch. Well, Max, coming in, I think we weren't entirely sure what to expect in this one. You had a team coming in looking for their first win, playing a lot of young guys. Elyria Catholic, tough sledding at the beginning of the year, but they were riding a hot hand coming into this one. They were able to find a groove in their running game, and defensively they were pretty stout in this one to come away with a 2-score win.
Yeah, and I kind of hinted at it during the broadcast, but I know I definitely wanted to save it for this point of the broadcast because this is a Elyria Catholic team that is just doing whatever it takes to get the job done, and sometimes that can be seen as boring or maybe not too flashy, but it takes a lot to just not be bored with what you're doing and just to be committed to the result of whatever it takes to end the game with more points on the board than the other team, and whether it's with special teams, defense coming up big, they've been able to do that and not put them in too many bad situations.
We'd like to welcome you in officially to our Spitzer Auto World and Amherst postgame show. At Spitzer, our world revolves around you. 28-14 EC a winner in this one. We'll take a look at the scoring recap. On Elyria Catholic's second drive of the game, they went 77 yards on 12 plays, and the name that we're going to say a lot here tonight, Jazir Mikelia, got into the end zone on his first of 2 touchdowns. Basically, as you mentioned it, the Panther push, right? We saw it a couple of times here tonight, but it wasn't just his 2 trips to the end zone. He also had 3 sacks in this game. That touchdown rush kind of set the tone to make it 7-0 Elyria Catholic. They would go up 14-0 a few drives later on a 12-yard touchdown rush on 3rd down and 3 from Zion Castillo. And then, after a fumble on a punt, a short field for St. Vincent-St. Mary to work with, they also capitalized on a roughing the kicker penalty on a 31-yard field goal attempt. The kick was blocked, but the penalty extended the drive. 2 plays later, a 7-yard touchdown pass from Rylan Hurley to Janelle Baker. That made it 14-7. That was our count at the half. And the opening kickoff of the second half was returned 90 yards to the house by Jaden Pleasant to knot this thing up at 14 apiece. But Elyria Catholic responded very quickly. Their very next drive started at the 45-yard line. So they had a short field to work with because St. Vincent-St. Mary tried to catch them by surprise with an onside kick, but it went out of bounds. So taking over at the 45-yard line, Elyria Catholic went right back to the running game, didn't attempt a single pass on that drive, and it was Mikelia who took it into the end zone again on his second 1-yard touchdown plunge of the evening. They had a 21-14 lead, and they just never looked back. They essentially put this one away on their last drive of the game, a 65-yard touchdown rush for Corey Armelin, and that was the highlight of the night by far because it looked like he was tackled on 4 separate occasions on that play, essentially spun out of one near the 50-yard line. Then he was off to the races down that right hash, and that made it 28-14. That was our final count in this one.
Yeah, just an incredible show of resilience by both teams and a lot of mental toughness to keep this game competitive for as long as it was. And it was very back and forth and obviously hung in the balance for a while there.
And you certainly credit the tenacity and the guts shown by Rylan Hurley in this game because he took one shot after another and just continued to answer the bell and really kind of kept St. Vincent-St. Mary alive in this game. And there were a few times it looked like this thing was hanging in the balance. It could have gotten out of control, but you credit Coach Duran Grant and company for continuing to keep this thing close because again, there were a few times it looked like the doors were just going to be blown off of this one.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little more when we check out the stats, but just a sneak peek. He accounted for 87% of the offensive yardage tonight. So, I mean, it really rested on his shoulders, and the senior, he stepped up for as much as he could.
Well, let's launch right into those stats brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA. It's all about the numbers. And Max has those numbers.
Well, and since we just mentioned him, we'll start with Hurley. 11 carries, 99 yards, a lot of them in tough situations of evading pressure and trying to keep plays alive. And he also had a couple of completions through the air, including a touchdown pass to one of his receivers on the night, Janelle Baker. And then on the other side, it comes down to the running game. We knew this coming in. 48 carries for 302 yards on the ground tonight for the Panthers. And Zion Castillo leading the way like he has the last couple of weeks, 29 for 132 and a touchdown. and of course, a couple more from Elyria, as you mentioned, from the goal line.
What a game here tonight. 28-14, Elyria Catholic, a winner over St. Vincent-St. Mary. With the win, Elyria Catholic back at 500 at 3-3. The loss sends St. Vincent-St. Mary to 0-6. They are off next week. Again, they were supposed to take on Youngstown Ursuline next week. That game was canceled. And for Elyria Catholic, a real tough part of the schedule begins. They've got a few more home games before the finale in the final week of the regular season against CVCA, but they've got quite a few 4-1 teams waiting in the wings.
Yeah, and it's definitely tough, but you got to remember, you just take it a week at a time, and it may be a stereotype or coach speak, but you only have to play them once a week. So it may look like a lot, but you can't allow these guys to look too far down the schedule, and I'm sure that's going to be an emphasis from Coach Ferris and his staff.
Time to take a look at our Valley Chevrolet drive of the game. Keep on driving with Valley Chevrolet in Wellington. Well, we do this quite a bit, but I think it's certainly apropos tonight. It wasn't the first drive of the game for Elyria Catholic. It was their second, but they had a nice, long, sustained drive, continuing to pound away with that running game. They went 77 yards on a dozen plays to take a 7-0 lead on a 1-yard touchdown rush from Jazir McElia, who I have a feeling might be in store for an award here tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have some hardware in the form of a Zabo apparel shirt, but I think what makes that drive and a couple more of these so much more impressive is that the defense knows what you're doing. It's just they can't stop you, and that's got to be a great feeling for an offense.
Yeah, and I think they certainly knew what they wanted to do here tonight. They were tested on that first drive because they tried to run the ball twice, but they essentially went 3 and out. They couldn't get the running game going early on with Zion Castillo. They eventually got it going, but they were able to get right back to that, running the ball very effectively on the aforementioned drive of the game. And we've been talking about it for the last few minutes here, so you probably saw this coming a mile away, but we'll throw it out there anyways. Our Zabo Apparel Company player of the game. Zabo Apparel Company, be game day ready all year long. And one thing is for sure, he may not have been on the roster officially in this one, but Jazir McElia was most definitely game day ready. He is our Zabo Apparel Company player of the game.
And he certainly made a case to be on that roster moving forward. I mean, that guy, he can, like we mentioned at the end of the game, be a game wrecker and kind of tilt the scales of what could be a toss-up of a game, and looking forward to seeing more opportunities for him.
Yeah, and an interesting stat line, right? 2 touchdowns and 3 sacks. Not necessarily something that you see very often, but well, what a presence on that defensive front. And when they ran in that jumbo package with the Wildcat, they would sneak him up under center, and he would take that quarterback sneak. And again, twice he punched it across the goal line. And in a 2-score game, that makes all the difference in the world. All right, well, again, we want to remind all of you to make sure you tune in to WOBL and WDLW as the Spitzer Auto World and Amherst postgame show continues with John Guzik, Paul Williams, Johnny G, David Q. I mean, if we're going to call Johnny G and David Q with a single letter in their last name, why not just call Paul Williams Paul W and John Guzik John G, right?
I was going to
well,
say,
then again, you know what? 2 Johnny Gs. Yeah.
How about that? Who else can say that?
That's right. You got Johnny G squared back in the studio at the Radio Ranch, so you've got twice the fun. Make sure you tune in. They've also got a Facebook live stream going on. They will get you all the scores and then some. They'll talk to some of the players and coaches from the area as well as the playoff picture continues to take shape. While we're on that note, next week, the Lorain County 4 Horsemen will head up to Sailor Nation in Vermilion, where the Sailors will try and get back to their winning ways. They fell to Norwalk earlier tonight, and they will take on Port Clinton. An interesting year for the Sailors, and they're going to have to win a few games down the stretch to get into the postseason, Max.
Yeah, and we had a chance last year to see them when they really started to turn the tide on that season and took down Huron. So I'm excited to see another clash like that late in the season up in Vermilion.
I cannot wait for our Brian Victor of Howard Hanna Rate the Dog segment for that particular game. Brian says enjoy the game. We'll definitely do that. I'm so excited to enjoy the dogs up in Vermilion.
Yeah, and I had a chance to go down there for Junior LC8 last week on Saturday afternoons, and they took great care of us there. So excited to get back and check out what that's all about on Friday nights as well.
Make sure you stay tuned to all these social media platforms for WOBL and WDLW and the Lorain County Sports Network. We've got the Golden Helmet Award Watch brought to you by Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford. Shop ElyriaFord.com for more information. Friday night recaps are available thanks to Network Land Title Agency, safeguarding your investment and ensuring peace of mind. Max, any final thoughts from you before we sign off and say goodnight?
Hey, we're starting to hit the home stretch here, and I'm expecting it to feel a little more like fall as we move forward, so can't wait for that.
Well, if you take into account whatever these extended forecasts are worth, they do say that next Friday it's still a high of 72 degrees and plenty of sunshine. So I don't think the autumn has arrived just yet, no matter what that calendar says. All right, 28-14, your final score in this one. Elyria Catholic picks up their third win of the season. Don't forget, we're back with you again 1 week from tonight as the Vermilion Sailors will play host to Port Clinton. Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30 next Friday with a kickoff scheduled for 7 o'clock. Plenty of people to thank before we sign off tonight. First and foremost, a big thanks to all of you for tuning into this one. Whether you saw this one for just a couple of moments or you took it all in, either way, we'd like to say thanks to you for making us a part of your Friday evening festivities. Big thanks to the entire staff here at Elyria Catholic High School. Always love coming out to Dan Reeser Stadium. This is our final trip up here this season, but we certainly enjoyed our stay here. Always love the hospitality, and we certainly look forward to coming back again next year. And a big thanks goes out to the entire broadcast team. Lorain County's Four Horsemen riding in strong to this one in Week 6 of the high school football season. My thanks to my tag team partner, Max Drummond, for his tremendous, colorful analysis throughout the course of the evening. Our cameraman, Sam Sovacool, and the captain of our ship, the director, Edwin Vereen, getting us on and keeping us on, making sure that you could see every last bit of this one. That'll do it. One final time, your final score, Elyria Catholic 28, St. Vincent-St. Mary 14. For Max, Sam, and Edwin, this is Andy Bolbarch saying thanks again for tuning in to our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week here on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network.